President Trump and the First Lady of the United States pay their respects to Pope Francis.
President Macron of France now beside the coffin of Pope Francis. Prince William also there, as you can see, bowing his head as he represents King Charles on behalf of the UK.
There is a real sense of peace.
Canadians head to the polls on Monday in what many see as a defining moment for the country. U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and his stated desire to turn Canada into the 51st state have loomed large over the campaign. While Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberals were trailing 20 points in the polls a few months ago, they are now expected to win, thanks largely to Carney's tough words for Trump.
He wants to divide us, because dividing us would make his job easier.
The polls have tightened in recent days, and rallies for the opposition Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre draw large crowds. To some, how to afford a house and general living expenses rather than relations with the United States are their top concerns.
And we want every single person to have the promise of Canada.
Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle. It's Sunday, which means we're going to bring you this week's world news from all over the globe. I'm laughing looking at Stuart the Brit's comment over on YouTube that says, late again. Stuart, it's Sunday, and we are here before 1:40, which means we're actually practically early for anybody that knows. So I'm so impressed that those of you that are here on time. Most of you know it might be 1:45, it might be 2, it might be 2:15. The whole plan's 1:30. I really had every intention of being here at 1:30 on the dot today. It's a beautiful day here in Ohio. Dr. Sherry, yes, Dr. Sherry, in the house is actually pointing that out. She says, hello, everyone. It is a beautiful day in Ohio. She says, I wish all the platforms would begin at the same time. Me too. So when I click the go lives, I have to get them all individually, and some of them start faster than others. Now, you may be wondering why I have hellfire beneath me. Look at that. Or maybe in the corner there, you may not be wondering why I have hellfire beneath me. We're going to talk about the death, the funeral, and the future of the Catholic Church. No, I didn't mean the death and the funeral of the Catholic Church, of Pope Francis, and what it means moving forward with the conclaves. And there's a lot of, I think Babylon Bee did something with Katy Perry choosing to be the next pope, which would probably be in the same vein of Satanism as the former pope that recently died, aka Pope Francis. So all of the world leaders gathered together and did what they needed to do and visited. I did find it interesting that Prince Charles was not there. King Charles, excuse me. Prince William was there. Sorry, I thought I heard something upstairs. Prince William was there representing King Charles. I just thought, you know, of all the things, like, it's the daggone Pope, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have gone. But I'm also not King of England either, so. And then speaking of things shaken up and different, wow, Liz hair's looking fancy. Oh, you should have showed him. She's taking it down. Canada's got an election coming up here, eh? Don't you know? We've got the Liberal that has taken over for Justin Trudeau. I don't know his name. Leah, what's his name? I should know his name. We're going to talk about it here today. Anyway, there's this Liberal guy that is leading in the polls. Everybody, it seems as if, and here's the problem. I know I'm not completing my sentences here. Canada, like, I love y'all. I do. But Canada is as conservative as Californians try to tell me that California is. Meaning, there's a lot of conservatives in What are you doing? Bring that dog down here. There's a lot of conservatives in Canada. Don't get me wrong. And they are legit. They are solid. And I love you all. And many of you watch our program, which we ship. Shop.resistancechicks.com ships to Canada now. But guys, I would be really shocked. I want Pierre Poilievre, and we're going to talk about him today. I genuinely want him to win. It would be amazing if he did. But I don't know that Canadians are ready to let go of their socialist ways, which, Pierre Poilievre is still socialist. Like he is, but I don't know. Those Canadians, they are strong. They're like, it's like the nation is filled with people from San Diego or San Francisco. And I'm sorry, when I love you all, but it's just the truth. And I don't mean to say it any other way, but there you are. So we're going to talk about that. I'm very hopeful because I love hope, but I'm not hopeful because I'm hopeful that Pierre Poilievre will pull it out in the end. You know what I mean? I want to know what you guys have to think, have to say about it. Leah, what are you doing? So we have 5 dogs at our house right now. For those of you that don't know, we own a pet care business. This is just some sort of 40-hour-a-week side gig that we do called Resistance Chicks. But we have dogs that are staying at our house, and we had 3, and today we got 2 more, so now we have 5. It's a house full, and it also makes for a bed full. You don't get to sleep. You're kind of sleep on an angle. And and you could say, don't let the dog sleep in the bed. That's not going to happen. That's the dumbest suggestion ever, and also impossible and impractical. But we do have to change our bed sheets often, and my comforters. I just put a brand new comforter on there like 2 days ago.
It's probably already.
It's filthy. These filthy animals. Yeah, filthy animals.
Who's filthy animal is a pope.
Leah has not seen do you like my presentation? I'm showing her my hellfire.
Well, I guess
it's hot in here.
Even our Catholic viewers, I think, can appreciate that. We are of the vegano persuasion.
Yeah.
Speaking of vegano came on the scene early on, several years ago, when he called out the Pope for ignoring the Cardinal McCarrick sex scandal, where he was actually paying young men, grown men, for sexual favors and interactions.
Can we not call them favors? Because that's a slur to the word favor. Hey, would you do me a favor?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can I borrow your pen? Can I borrow a cup of flour?
Yeah, I guess some of these, whatever training facility, I forget which one McCarrick was over, he would, it turned into the gay brigade.
Was that the one in Pennsylvania?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure, though. We go through these scandals so many times, and you forget all the details, but we're going to bring some of those up this week. But let's go to Canada and let's talk about their election. So Canada is gearing up for a federal election tomorrow. They go to the polls. Canadians will vote for a new government in an election that has been upended by Donald Trump. So Donald Trump has stuck his little 51st state nose in their election, and it's really caused a bumpy ride for Pierre Poilievre.
I know.
Because he was very much pro-Trump, very much we're going to have great relations with the United States, and Donald Trump actually could cost him the election, because what people don't understand is Pierre Poilievre had to take a hardline stance against the idea of Canada becoming a 51st
state.
But
don't you think that every Canadian would be taking that stance?
Yeah, they do, and they've taken umbrage to it. I mean, they're not buying American products. They're boycotting it. They're not coming to the United States. Like, they are very angry. Okay. So and Donald Trump, does he seem as a joke? Is it not a joke? Whatever it is, they're not joking around. They're not taking this as a joke. So they're gearing up for a federal election. And here's what at stake. Here's what is at stake. Canadians will vote for a new government on Monday in an election that Donald Trump and his trade war and his threats to annex Canada have really upended. So the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and the governing Liberal Party appeared poised for a historic election defeat until Trump slapped heavy tariffs on Canada and began threatening its sovereignty. Trump's attacks have infuriated Canadians who are canceling trips to their southern neighbor and avoiding buying American goods when they can. The surge in Canadian nationalism has bolstered the Liberals' poll numbers,
Isn't
Donald
that
Trump.
interesting, though, because usually when you're looking at like nationalist parties, they
The
generally
problem is
lead more conservative.
because Pierre Poilievre is Trumpinian,
Yeah,
right?
okay. Oh, yeah, I got it.
So the opposition Conservative Party had hoped to make the election a referendum on Justin Trudeau, whose popularity cratered, and then he resigned. This reminds me very much of what happened with Marine Le Pen. So election is called. It looks like Marine Le Pen's going to win, but then there's a coalition of liberals and far left that get together. This was actually just Donald Trump.
But you know what else? I wanted to point something out because I was confused and I don't know how I missed this going into this. The reason why Trudeau resigned ahead of time was because of the upcoming election. It's kind of like falling on your sword for your party because it's so much easier to re-elect somebody that is holding a position than it is to, just give it up for whoever. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he fell on his sword, supposedly, and then
Because
it'll be so much easier. It's like a shoe-in because he's technically already this Mark. What did I say his last name is? Grimes. He's already the quote-unquote prime minister.
Well, at the same time, though,
no.
is that I would think that
Carney.
Justin Trudeau falling on his sword because nobody wanted to elect Trudeau.
Oh, well, yeah, you know what I mean, but they knew that Trudeau didn't stand a chance.
They're kind of, it balanced out the Liberal Party, basically.
And this guy, he's so likable, this Mark Carney guy. Like, when you listen to him, you want to like him, which I hate that.
Yeah. Voters nationwide will elect all 343 members of the House of Commons, one for each constituency. There are no primaries or runoffs, just a single round of voting. Like the UK, Canada uses a first-past-the-post voting system, meaning the candidate who finishes first in each constituency. How do you say these? How do you say that?
Where continuity?
No. Where the voting
constituency?
We don't have them here, or do we? I guess we
yes,
do.
we do.
But we don't ever use the word constituency. I hate this word. Will be elected even if they don't get 50% of the vote.
Wait, let me address this comment real quick because I feel bad. So ID K's says, I'm a Canadian here, I'm a conservative, and Pierre is not a socialist. Give me a break. Here's what I mean by that, okay?
You guys have your universal health care.
You're all socialists, and I love you, okay? But so is everybody in the UK. Like, so once you hit this like landmark of socialism with like universal health care. Here's the thing. The United States is actually technically
We're just
socialist too.
light. Yeah.
We're socialist light. And so if you agree with, even Trump is a socialist, even though he wouldn't say that he is. Like, Trump is definitely a socialist. If you believe in any programs at all, you're a socialist. You guys believe in giant social program called the the universal health care there. So I don't mean it as a slur. It says many suspect here in Canada that the polls are way off, same as fake Harris polls in the USA. I hope you're right. I genuinely hope you're right. And that's over on Gitter. So a big, huge shout out to those of you on Gitter that actually never leave comments, but a ton of you watch.
This has generally cemented the dominance of the two largest parties, the Liberals and the Conservatives, because it's difficult for smaller parties actually to win these seats. So how is the prime minister chosen? The party that commands a majority in the House of Commons, either alone or with the support of another party, will form the next government. And its leader will be prime minister. Carney replaced Trudeau, who announced his resignation in January, but remained in power until the Liberal Party elected the new leader on March 9th, which was Carney. Carney was sworn in as Canada's 24th prime minister March 14th. He hopes to retain that job and avoid becoming one of Canada's shortest serving prime ministers. Who's running? So Carney is 60 years old. He is one of two main candidates. He successfully navigated financial crises when he headed the Bank of Canada and later ran the Bank of England, becoming the first non-UK citizen to do so since 1694.
Follow the money.
A highly educated economist, Carney worked for 13 years for Goldman Sachs in London, Tokyo, New York, and Toronto before being appointed deputy governor of the Bank of Canada in 2003. He has financial industry and public service credentials. Now, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives, is Carney's main challenger. He and the party seemed headed to a big victory in the election until Trump's near daily trade and annexation threats derailed them. Pierre is 45, is a career politician and firebrand populist who says he will put Canada first. For years, his party's go-to attack dog, he frequently criticizes the mainstream media and vows to defund Canada's public broadcaster. There are two other parties that have official status in Parliament. If the Liberals or the Conservatives secure the most votes in the House of Commons but fail to win a majority, they will need to rely on either the New Democrats, a progressive party, or the separatist Quebec party, the Bloc Québécois, how do you say that, Québécois, to pass legislation.
Stuart the Brit says, Carney ran the British Central Bank, totally destroyed the economy, a moron. Now, before we get into this, I don't think we can do it. I don't know if it's Keys or K's over on Getter. I heard this earlier, and I know that we pronounce Pierre's last name incorrectly. It's technically, this is what ID Keys says, and I'm pretty sure you're right because I heard it earlier. It's Poilievre.
Poilievre?
Poilievre.
Nobody says it over here that way.
Because we speak phonetically? And I heard in the video that you sent me that I played, they pronounced it the same way.
But that's not what they say it on all the newscasts. Nobody says it that way. Okay, I will switch it, but like, that's not the way people say it here.
We're really bad
fine.
with pronunciations.
That's
over
fine.
here.
That's new to us though.
Poilievre. Is it
Poilievre.
Poly? Because you spelled it Poly.
Is it
Poly?
Poilievre?
You know what? Let's
Poily?
Google it. Leah,
Poilievre?
let's do this.
That sounds so much more French. Poilievre.
Okay. How to pronounce.
Okay, you do that. All right. So the election to replace Trudeau is tomorrow. Trump's tariffs and aggressive rhetoric are widely credited with reviving the fortunes of the Liberal Party, which sank into a 20-point polling deficit against Pierre Poilievre.
Made jokes in one of her speeches about the fact that nobody knows how to say your name. And so I thought I'd jump right in and ask you the tough question first. How do you say your last name? Because I'll tell you, known you a long time, Pierre, that is a question that I get asked a lot by people who've started to notice you and aren't quite sure what you're all about. How do you say his name?
The simplest way for an Anglophone to say it is Poilievre, but it has been said many different ways. It's a name that comes directly from France. My father's grandfather came from, so that would be my great-grandfather, he came directly from France to Saskatchewan. And so in France, they tend to roll the last R, Poilievre, but no one says it that way here.
Poilievre.
So Poilievre is fine. I'm easy with first name basis. At the end of the day, Brian, I don't care how you say my name as long as you know how to put an X beside it on election day.
Poilievre.
No, just say Poilievre.
Poilievre.
Poilievre. Leah, just do it. No, don't.
Poilievre.
No, you're not allowed. Leah.
Poilievre.
No.
I like that one better. Poilievre. I like that. Poilievre. Poilievre. Under the okay, so we got Poilievre here. Stretch. Trudeau's successor, Mark Carney, is that like Carney? Carney.
Stop it.
Is narrowly leading Poilievre. Canadian conservatives will probably not love Trump's interview with Time magazine, or Time, just Time, during which he served up more of the criticism that helped Liberals rally their voters. Trump pointedly insisted that nothing he said about Canada was meant in jest. When Time asked him if he wanted to grow the American empire, Trump mildly objected to the term empire, but said he was very serious about acquiring new territories, such as Greenland and even Canada. He said he wouldn't mind being remembered as the president who expanded America's territory for the first time in decades. Trump said Greenland would be very well off if they accepted his offer, and he argued that the U.S. already had purchased Canada on an installment plan.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I'm really not trolling. Canada is an interesting case. We lose $200 to $250 billion a year supporting Canada. I asked a man who I called Governor Trudeau. I said, why? Why do you think we're losing so much money supporting you? Do you think that's right? We're taking care of their military. We're taking care of every aspect of their lives. We don't need them to make cars for us. In fact, we don't want them to make cars for us. We want to make our own cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything from Canada. And I say the only way this thing really works is for Canada to become a state.
Stop it. It's so arrogant.
Trump got into the habit of referring to Trudeau as governor of a punitive 51st American state. I wonder if he'll do that with Carney. It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. I look forward to seeing the governor again soon so that we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade, the results of which will truly be spectacular for all, he said in December. In February, not long after Trudeau formally resigned as prime minister and leader of the Liberal Party, Trump jovially invited Governor Trudeau to join him at a watch party for a U.S.-Canada hockey game. I'll be calling our great American hockey team this morning to spur them on towards victory tonight against Canada, which, with far lower taxes and much stronger security, will someday, maybe soon, become our cherished and very important 51st
I can't with
state.
this man. Stop it. It's just rude. Okay, now I have to step away for 45 minutes.
Okay.
And I will be back in 45 minutes. You are set up. This
I
is
got
your
it.
screen share right here.
Yep.
You're in charge.
The Liberal Party began to rebound.
Don't let her say Poliverer again.
Polivre.
Stop it.
Liberal Party began to rebound as soon as Trudeau was no longer. I'll do my best to keep the show going.
I have to yell at you.
Oh, okay. You might as well just text then. Was no longer an anchor around its neck, and the election was reframed as a contest to determine which candidate would stand up to Trump most fervently, if not effectively. The liberal resurgence was aided by the collapse of its left-wing rival, the New Democratic Party, which looked like it could stake a claim to becoming the leading opposition party. In the days of Polivre's 20-point lead, I don't even know how to say it the other way now. I have to roll the R at the end now. Polivre. Is that even close? I don't think it is. But has since faded to irrelevance. Some commentators attribute this collapse to poor leadership. I don't know. It seems suspicious that the liberals are getting such a spur with Donald Trump's tariffs. However, right-wing personalities who helped propel Donald Trump to the 2024 election will have weighed in on Canada's upcoming election, that's us, with at times misleading, hopefully not us, warnings about a range of political issues, including immigration. These media figures often hold up Canada as a case study of a nation where core values like free speech are being purged with arguments that often cite flawed evidence, but may have reached a segment of voters ahead of Monday's election, experts say. Charlie Kirk recently invited the leader of Canada's far-right People's Party, Maxime Bernier, on his show to talk about immigration. Bernier, whose fringe party has no seats in Parliament, told Kirk that foreigners moving to Canada amounted to replacement theory in action, referring to a conspiracy theory that talks about a plot. Oh, wow, interesting that he's not allowed to talk about that with President Breitbart. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan has claimed Canadians cannot express themselves online, implying the country is so authoritarian he would rather go to Russia than Montreal. Rogan posted on X in February that Canada had banned news content from Facebook and Instagram. What's interesting here is that actually Canada has been of its own. Like, I'm not sure why. I think maybe Breitbart's being paid to try to balance out the Bernier non-candidacy with the Polivre, who could actually be prime minister. But people on the right, like the very outspoken free speech people, which would be Polivre. He is actually, from what I was looking at, not really pro-life, and he's okay with gay marriage. So he's not as conservative as I would like at all. So I'm hoping you guys get a good conservative in there. Will he balance the budget for you guys? I'm not exactly sure, but hopefully, some good things will come of it. I do, however, have a clip here of young people begging their parents to vote for Pierre, and then a interesting clip with Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson about the fact that Rebel News has been basically sidelined by every leading political party. So let me go ahead and play These are young people begging their parents. So young people want Pierre Poilievre.
To my parents, mom and dad, you guys have worked very hard, bought a house, done everything right in the aspect of life, raised kids, worked hard. But yeah, times have changed. Canada is no longer what it is. You guys voted Liberal in the past, and that's okay. Listen, that's okay. In this election, I need you to think about me and the younger generation. Cost of living, number one, is way too expensive. The streets, number two, are super dangerous. And number three, the economy is super, super down. Mom and dad, please think about these three aspects when you are thinking of your future grandkids, my kids, God willing. And
That's sweet, young man.
Vote Conservative. I'm challenging my friends to make videos talking to their parents and making videos to their parents. Thank you, everyone.
I know I'm not into politics, but what's happening in Canada is scary. We don't feel safe in our own neighborhoods. Sleeping at night knowing that at any second someone could just break in. Your business, everything you've built for 30 plus years is beginning to hurt. And honestly, I'm scared for my future. I'm scared that I'll never be able to own my own home when I'm older. Even thinking about the future feels hopeless sometimes. You've always done everything you could in your guys' power to give me a better life, to give me and my siblings a better future. Now I'm asking for your help to protect it. Please, vote Conservative. Give Canada another chance. I'm posting this video for my parents, and I'm asking you to do the same. I'm challenging you to all have the same talk with your parents.
Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, when you came here to Toronto 25 years ago, you came here with a Canadian dream. You worked hard, you bought a house, you put your kids through school, you gave us a great education, and we're so grateful for that. You voted Liberal to help your lives as immigrants. But it's my first time voting, and I look outside, and it's not that world anymore. It's a different world. The housing prices. I work in tech. How am I going to buy a house for myself before I'm 40? We don't have that luxury anymore. Guys, we got to buckle down. It's game time now. It's time to vote, and it's time to vote Conservative.
Hi, Mom and Dad, Namaskaram. Something that we need to talk about, and I think is very important, is how you immigrated to Canada around 10 years ago and built such a life for us. It includes education, a house, as well as jobs, and providing us with the utmost quality of life. It all comes from your hard work. And now we need to address the important issue that is currently going on. With the state of Canada's economy, we need to address the fact that the next generation includes people like me who suffer from job insecurity as well as high cost of living needs to be changed. So I encourage you to vote for Conservative this federal election so you can provide us, your kids, as well as this new generation with security, stability, and safety. Thank you. And I'm challenging everyone.
I like it.
Let's head to the polls on Monday in what many see as a defining moment for the country. U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and his stated desire to turn Canada into the 51st state have loomed large over the campaign. While
Hang on, we got a little stuck
Prime
here.
Minister Mark Carney's Liberals were trailing 20 points in the polls a few months ago, they are now expected to win, thanks largely to Carney's tough words for Trump.
He wants to divide us because dividing us would make his job easier.
But polls have tightened in recent days, and rallies for the opposition Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre draw large crowds. To some, how to afford a house and general living expenses rather than relations with the United States are their top concerns.
And we want every single person to have the promise of Canada, that anyone who works hard can have a great life in a beautiful, affordable home.
It's a discontent and frustration that mirrors what is seen in the United States and Europe, where young people have also leaned conservative in recent years. And polls show Poilievre's focus on the cost of living is resonating with the young, and young men especially. A poll by Nanos on April 24th found nearly 50% of voters aged 18 to 34 support the Conservatives, compared to 30% support for the Liberals. When all age groups were considered, the Liberals led by about 3 points. To Canadians under 35, Poilievre represents change after 10 years of Liberal rule under Justin Trudeau.
Ready for a hopeful future.
But young people are historically the least likely to vote, and voter intention and large crowds don't necessarily translate to seats in Canada's electoral system. However, youth turnout could be key to an upset by Poilievre or to determining whether the Liberals get a majority in Parliament.
So that's interesting. That seems like that might have been the case here, right? Where young people played a big role in the election. So this election is going to come down to the participation of young people. It's as simple as that. This is a battle between the future of Canada and the past, where the past doesn't care about the future. Young people go vote. So you can look at these, the conservative. What are these numbers here? Breakdown by group. Oh, I see. I was a little dyslexic in my colors there. So this is interesting. So the blue being the Conservatives and the red being the Liberals. So both within the Canadian Maple Leaf. Duh with the C. I wasn't sure. I wasn't see what I was seeing there. So CNL. So 18 to 34, 44 to 38 Conservatives. And 35 to 54, 41 to 39. It just depends here. The older group, 55 plus, coming out strong for the Liberals. So, yeah, we'll see. And guys, Canada's rents, housing prices, immigration, and then how Justin Trudeau handled the lockdowns and the trucker rally. You would think that Poilievre would be winning by a landslide, and he was up 20% in the polls. So we'll see. These polls have tightened pretty closely, and we'll see if they think that that Poilievre can pull this out. It looks like breaking news here. 9 people killed after a man plows his vehicle into a crowd at a festival in Vancouver. And so I want to just give you guys this. I believe this is happening now. And since we are live and talking about Canada right now, I don't know if that is happening now, if he was talking about that, something that happened before. No? Okay. Trying to find this. Vancouver. Let's see. Yeah, so this just happened. A car has plowed into a Vancouver festival, killing people. It's a Filipino festival, killing 11. Police, we don't know what this is related to. But we do know, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. So this is, police are saying that they're confident it was not an act of terrorism. So I'm not sure how they're so confident on that.
We have in custody does have a significant history of interactions with police and healthcare professionals related to mental health. I am unable to publicly identify the person who is in custody because charges have not yet been laid. The person we have in custody does have...
So we don't know. Mentally ill man? Let's see. We don't know. Just 9 killed, 11 killed, many injured after a vehicle drives into the Lapu Lapu Festival in Vancouver. So we're just gonna, we don't know anything. We don't know anything. But that is sad. So please pray for them and the victims there. We don't know what is going on there. So we don't know. We'll bring you more updates as we can. This is Pierre Poilievre from November of 2023.
Well, we're going to replace divide and conquer with unite for freedom. freedom. Right. Uniting for freedom means that we will repeal the censorship law, C-11. Uniting for freedom means we'll repeal the law that's taken your news off of social media, C-18. Uniting for freedom means no mandatory digital ID. Uniting for freedom means banning all of my ministers from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. Uniting for freedom means telling Justin Trudeau to butt out and let parents decide what to teach their kids about sexuality and gender. And uniting for freedom means pulling back the money that we're sending abroad to foreign dictatorships, terrorists, and multinational organizations and putting that money into rebuilding our military and supporting our troops. And most of all, it means giving opportunities and dignity to the brave men and women who are veterans in this country, who protected our freedom and stood up for us. They fought for us. We'll fight for them. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Well, we're going to replace divide.
One more here. Here's a Pierre Poilievre rally.
Pierre Poilievre is the only one to bring real change to Canada. So it is my great honor and my great privilege to introduce to you the only leader that will bring real change to Canada, Calgary's own Pierre Poilievre.
All right. So, what do you guys think? Pierre Poilievre gonna pull it out there at the end? God, we lift up Canada. Pray that you rid them of woke craziness and give them the leader that you've called them to have. If that is Pierre Poilievre, put him in place. In Jesus' name we pray. All right, so let's pop over here to the Pope's funeral, and we're gonna dive right into that, and we're gonna play some of these powerful images from the Pope's funeral here. Now, I'm not going. Obviously, guys, we're not pro Pope, but we're not anti-Catholic. Okay. I love Catholics, and my grandma was Catholic, and I believe there's a lot of good, faithful Catholics, but I think that most Catholics will agree that this Pope was very woke, put his nose into politics and the weight of the Vatican into issues that he shouldn't have, and talked about immigration as it was a civil right into every nation, which means, it's not immigration, it's just replacement. immigration and climate change as it's some sort of religion that must be kept. And then the push where he was sanctifying or blessing gay unions, and he just really took the church super far left. And so there are some hopefully conservative cardinals that will go into the conclave, and we'll talk about what that looks like to go into the conclave, where they all vote and then they put up the smoke and see if they chose the guy. So we will pray for that, because I do believe that it's very significant. Obviously, I do think God cares. So we'll pray for that. And I know there's a push for a conservative pope to take hold, but he turned a blind eye, and in my opinion, helped to facilitate the church abuse. But it's as a matter of respect, we'll play the respectful videos first before we rail against this many of you call black pope, false pope. So here we have an aerial view. St. Peter's Basilica here.
President Trump and the First Lady of the United States paid their respects to Pope Francis.
So this must be after they closed the casket. It was
President
open.
Macron of France now beside the coffin of Pope Francis. Prince William also there, as you can see, bowing his head as he represents King Charles on behalf of the UK.
There is a real sense of peace here. It was a hope for peace in the world that much of Pope Francis's work was driven towards. The bearer party with applause in St. Peter's Square. Somehow alone again, Pope Francis at the heart of this great building, after completing the loneliness of a position of great leadership.
Di fronte all'infuriare di tante guerre di
Faced
questi
with
anni,
the raging wars of recent
con
years,
orrori disumani e con
with their inhuman
innumerevoli
horrors
morti e
and countless
distruzioni,
deaths and destruction,
Papa Francesco incessantemente
Pope Francis incessantly
ha
raised his
elevato la
voice,
sua voce,
imploring
implorando la
peace
pace,
and calling for
invitando
reason and honest negotiation to find possible solutions.
invitando alla ragionevolezza, invitando all'onesta trattativa. Essa è per tutti.
Build bridges, not walls, was an exhortation he repeated many times. After a lifetime as priest, bishop, archbishop, cardinal, and pope, At the end of this funeral mass, Pope Francis leaves our sight, carrying the prayers and the promise of the resurrection shown in the great painting above the great door.
The coffin of Pope Francis being transported now on the streets of Rome, departing St. Peter's Basilica, departing the Vatican City. And for the first time, we see the people who've decided to come to the pavements, to come to the streets, to see him, to say goodbye.
The bell rings out to call Pope Francis home. His final wish is to be fulfilled by his loving church.
So the Pope had said before he died, he didn't want any pomp or circumstances. He didn't want to be buried in gold. Wanted a little simple stone. Pope's final wish, the expenses of my burial. He wants to go to Saint Mary Major in Rome. The Vatican released Pope Francis's final testament hours after he passed away. Jabba the Hutt here. The pontiff asked to be buried directly in the earth without marble, gold, or grandeur. He wanted to be laid to rest in the Basilica of Saint Mary Major, not the Vatican St. Peter Basilica. His only desire, a simple grave with the name Franciscus carved in Latin. Feeling that sunset of my earthly life is approaching, and with lively hope in eternal life, I wish to express my testamentary, well, only with regard to the place of my burial. I have always entrusted my life in my priestly and episcopal ministry to the Mother of our Lord, Mary Most Holy. Therefore, I ask that my mortal remains rest awaiting the day of the resurrection in the Papal Basilica of Santa Maria. How do you say that? Maggiore? I wish that my last earthly journey conclude precisely in the ancient Marian sanctuary where I went for prayer in the beginning and the end of each apostolic journey, to confidently entrust my intentions to the Immaculate Mother and thank her for her docile and maternal care. I ask that my tomb be prepared in the niche in the side nave between the Pauline Chapel and it was very, very specific. A lot of focus here on Mary for this Pope and not so much on God and Jesus. The tomb must be of earth, simple without particular decoration. May the Lord give the deserved reward to those who have loved me and will continue to pray for me. The suffering that has become present in the last part of my life, I have offered to the Lord for peace in the world and brotherhood among people. So your suffering, you think, is some... okay. And then earlier, the Vatican officials sealed the papal residence with a red ribbon and wax, triggering the mourning ritual. Cardinal Kevin Farrell the Camerlengo performed the ancient ceremony in silence. So we are on standby for the conclave. He was 88 on April 21st. Okay, I'm going to go back to the main here and just kind of discuss what does it look like to pick a new pope. What does it look like? One of the darkest hours in Vatican history was the brief 33-day papacy of John Paul I. His sudden death in September of 1978 remains shrouded in mystery. There is one pope that actually, Albino Luciani, born in 1912 in Italy, became Pope John Paul on August 26, 1978. His election was swift, concluded in a single day, with 101 out of 111 cardinals voting for him. He chose a double name to honor his predecessors, John the 23rd and Paul the 6th. Despite only lasting 33 days, Luciani stood out for his modesty and simplicity. He rejected traditional symbols of papal power like the tiara and the sedia gestoria, and dropped the royal we, speaking in the first person. He was like the shortest known pope, so I thought that was kind of an interesting story to tell you guys about the shortest known pope. And then I have a thread here on. It's interesting though how he died. Here he is.
Bene, allora sta attento. Tu vuoi stare sempre in quinta elementare o il prossimo anno vuoi un'altra classe?
Per me è uguale, però vorrei restare in quinta.
So he was the humble son of a Venetian bricklayer. Became pope while remaining a pastoral and gentle figure who charmed the world with his warm smile, nicknamed the Smiling Pope. There's something interesting about his death here. Hang on. So I do believe that Benedict was taken out. I do believe. Luciani quickly clashed with powerful figures, notably the Archbishop Paul Marcinkus, head of the Vatican Bank, which was embroiled in shady financial dealings. This guy. The Pope sought to reform the IOR and remove Marcinkus, who had ties to controversial figures associated with a Masonic lodge. A list of alleged Freemasons in the Vatican, published just before his death, reportedly disturbed him, hinting at internal resistance to his reforms. But then came his unexpected death. On the night of September 28th to 29th, 1978, Luciani was found dead in his bed by two nuns. The official report said it was a heart attack, but no autopsy was ever performed. Contradictions soon emerged. The Vatican initially claimed his secretary, John Maggie, found the body, omitting the nun's role. Conflicting accounts of his final hours, some mentioning ignored chest pains, others describing him as calm, fueled suspicion. And then there's several theories surfaced over the year. And there's a movie, In God's Name. David Yallop suggested that Luciani was poisoned. In conclusion, with the above mentioned, because of what he was uncovering. And then in 2019, AR claimed he helped I guess somebody claimed that they helped kill the Pope with Valium and cyanide to cover up the financial fraud. Others, like a theologian, Giovanni Gennari, proposed a medication error. While John Cornell's The Thief of the Night attributed to the death to stress and heart issues. So what do you guys think? I think that the Vatican has powerful people in place and that they will stop at nothing to keep power in place. Now, here are the top two. No, is that what we want? No. top two candidates to become the next pope, Peter Erdo and Pietro Parolin. The Hungarian cardinal in Erdo is a conservative theologian respected for his great scholarly work. And Italian Cardinal Parolin is the Vatican Secretary of State specialized in international relations. I think I do have some clips on who could spring up. But let's go back over here. I've got the closing of his casket here. Kind of creepy. This is really creepy. Really creepy. To me. Is that the one I want? Do I have to? Yeah. Wait, is this it? It's the closing of his casket. I thought. Not sure what this one is. Yes, it is, because he's going to put this thing in there. There it goes. Okay. So many world leaders meeting, and I know I just said that we're going to talk about how they're going to pick the Pope in a minute, but I'm going to go back to the dignitaries and everybody coming to see him.
With you. Well, St. Peter's Square, as we just saw from those aerial shots, has been transformed into a church, and the entire world.
I bet. I know what my sister's going to tell me. Leah, you're not screen sharing.
Been invited to celebrate.
She could have called. I closed out the coffin thing. Maybe you didn't need to see it. Sorry.
This Mass, and to celebrate the late Pope Francis, the People's Pope. As we saw there are about 40,000 to 50,000 packed into St. Peter's Square right now. There are crowds as far as the eye can see. We know at least more than 100,000, along with all the world leaders that are coming in here. We can see the Prime Minister of the UK there, the Prince of Wales here, former President Joe Biden as well. It's a very peaceful scene. As you can imagine, Craig, people are calm. They are praying. They have been praying rosaries in the lead up to the beginning of this Mass, which is just moments away. The weather out here could not be more perfect. The light, much like the great Ann Thompson, is ethereal. It is the perfect temperature, the perfect time to celebrate Mass, Craig.
Indeed, indeed. We should note there the weather has been picture perfect all week, and we expect more of that today as well. And you have been there, not just there at the Vatican this week. You have covered this Pope for a number of years now. You've covered the Catholic Church for a long time as well. And for the purposes of this conversation, I should disclose you're on the board at Notre Dame. You know the Catholic faith just about better than anybody I know. We were talking earlier this week about how this service is going to be a reflection in many ways of who this Pope was. Explain that for our viewers and listeners, Ann.
Absolutely, Craig. I mean, we will focus on the heads of state who are here, but Pope Francis would focus on the people way in the back of the square. We saw the members of the VFW group who were there, the poor people who will be represented today. This Mass and the funeral procession afterwards will drive home Pope Francis' message that the Catholic Church is a church for all, that the doors are wide open, and it is a field hospital for the spiritually wounded. You will hear that again and again today. You will hear it during the Mass, and then you will see it in the funeral procession when the poor, the homeless, migrants are all represented at the very end of the procession at the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore. Craig?
All right, Ann, stand by. Tom, stand by. I'm joined here on set by Father John Bartunek, an NBC News contributor, theologian.
Theologian.
Theologian. It's 4 a.m.
Theologian, we got you, brother.
And Kathleen Sprouse Cummings, also an NBC News contributor, professor of American Studies and History at the University of Notre Dame. Professor, I'll start with you. You and I spent some time roughly 10 years ago when the Pope came here, St. Patrick's Cathedral. You and I spent some time talking that day as well. We have an advanced copy of the homily, not a eulogy, but a homily. And part of it reads, with our prayers, we now entrust the soul of our beloved pontiff to God, that he may grant him eternal happiness in the bright and glorious gaze of his immense love. What else do you expect to hear this morning, Professor?
That's right, Craig. It's a somber day. Unlike in 2015, the joy of his visit here to the United States, it's very much a somber day. The funeral rites will be streamlined according to Pope Francis's wishes to have it more fitting to be a shepherd. But of course, it'll be very elaborate. He is the Pope. And ultimately, it's a Christian burial. We're celebrating a man of God who returned to God.
As we're having this conversation, there he is, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, First Lady Melania Trump. They're making their way to their seats there, and it appears as if they're being followed by President Emmanuel Macron of France as well, and the First Lady. During the service, we're told that the coffin will be in the center of St. Peter's Square there. On one side, you will have the dignitaries, the heads of state, royalty, and on the other side, you will have members of the clergy as well. As we look at this procession, that was a powerful scene there inside St. Peter's Basilica. Father, that appeared to be the bishops and the cardinals preparing to make their way outside to the funeral. Is that what we just saw?
Yeah, they put on their vestments inside the basilica on the side, and that procession that we saw is actually part of the, it's in a sense, it's part of the whole celebration. It's a symbol of the people of God who are kind of journeying towards heaven. And so as they come out before the Mass, they're already kind of incarnating that hope and that prayer for Pope Francis.
Tom Yamas there, standing by again in St. Peter's. Tom, let's talk about what we're seeing here. Again, we see President Trump getting ready to take his seat. Who else can we expect to see here?
Well, moments ago, the cameras captured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky walk down those same steps. It sounded like the crowd started to applaud for President Zelensky as he walked in. But of course, President Trump and the French president as well, Emmanuel Macron, had walked in just before that. It's incredible when you look at this, Craig, and you think about all the things that are happening in the world and how there are so many world leaders who are at odds right now, but they are coming together at least for 90 minutes to celebrate this great man, Pope Francis, for all the work he had done. And for a moment, at least, right, for a few hours today, the world will come together in peace and think about this man and the work he did. And I also have to say, as we watched all those cardinals, this shot right here, as they're starting to sort of enter St. Peter's Square from the Basilica, the next pope is among all these men. And there is an anxious flock across the world looking forward to the next pope, wondering who will lead the Catholic Church and which direction will it go? Will it go in the direction of Pope Francis? Some call it a progressive direction, or will it go back to what some people call back to the roots, maybe more conservative? It's unclear, and it's a huge debate right now within the Catholic Church.
Roughly 80% of the aforementioned College of Cardinals appointed by Pope Francis.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning.
So I'm trying to find my thread. I thought it was a really neat thread on how they pick the next pope. But I'm just going to go, I'm just going to bring up a video here. Because somebody had written out like who is possible. And I had a good thread, but I can't find it.
It's through a centuries-old process involving rounds of voting, speeches, prayers, and a dose of political maneuver. The decision charts a new course for the church and its nearly 1.4 billion followers. Let's lift the veil on this ancient ceremony. The process typically begins 15 to 20 days after the sitting pope's resignation or death in what's called a conclave. Cardinals from around the world travel to Vatican City. This could be the biggest conclave ever, with 135 cardinals under the age of 80 eligible to vote. After a special morning mass, they gather inside the Sistine Chapel, where they swear an oath of secrecy. From there, they're sequestered during the day from the world, leaving the church at night but not allowed any contact with the outside. This is a tradition dating back to the 13th century. At the time, cardinals couldn't decide on a pope and were locked inside a monastery and forbidden to leave until they elected a new one. In modern times, cardinals are sequestered to eliminate outside forces from influencing the results. 9 cardinals are chosen at random to officiate and organize the voting. Each clergyman receives sheets of paper, and the secret voting begins. Cardinals place ballots with the name of their top choice into a large chalice. Votes are tabulated and then pierced with a needle and thread, strung together for added transparency, and then burned. If there is no majority, black smoke rises from a chimney above the chapel. The color of the smoke tells the crowd gathered outside that a new pope has not yet been chosen. Cardinals vote 4 times each day until a candidate receives a 2/3 majority. Once this happens, the head of the Cardinals calls a man to the front of the chapel and asks if he's willing to accept. If yes, the new pope chooses his papal name. Among the most popular names are John, Gregory, and Benedict. No pope has chosen Peter for their papal name, perhaps in part not wanting to draw comparisons to the first leader of the church, St. Peter. Also perhaps because of prophecy that the final pope will be named Peter and precede the end of the world. Ballots are burned once more, this time with an additive that turns the smoke white. The new pope promptly dresses in new papal robes. He walks to the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica and gives his first address, but not before the senior cardinal shouts,
Habemus Papam.
While the process of electing a new pope and the tradition surrounding it is fascinating, more than anything else for most of us, it's a great opportunity to just pray for the Holy Spirit's guidance in this election process and to trust that God's providence will be at work in whoever the next pope will be.
Whoever they will be. So I want to talk about how woke Francis was. And this is actually from France TV. The title of it, Don't Give Us Another Woke Pope. Debate begins after Francis's death.
88, the announcement coming this morning, Easter Monday, from the Vatican. We heard from the Catholic prelate earlier, Cardinal Farrell, who broke the news that he died at 7:35 local time. Well, Vivian Waltz, the parish correspondent for Time magazine, I mentioned a moment ago she would be with us. Vivian, it's great to have you on the programme today. Talk me through your thoughts, reflections of the death of the Pope.
Well, you know, so in as much as this is, of course, a day of mourning for hundreds of millions of Catholics, there's also a very fierce debate already underway about what comes next. And it goes beyond a lot of the social issues that we've just been hearing about, abortion, gay rights, and so on. Perhaps the most divisive issue of all is migration. Francis was a very vocal and passionate defender of migrants, and it put him directly at odds with, of course, the Trump administration previously and now, including J.D. Vance, whom he was the last public person to see him yesterday, but also in Europe, where you had a number of bishops come out and say, you know, he's a woke president. Don't give us another woke president. I'm sorry, not President Pope. It was a woke Pope. You can really see online the debate about, you know, please don't appoint another woke Pope. And a number of the bishops in Europe sort of coming out and saying, you know, migration is going to erode the Catholic nature of Europe. So I think this is going to be a major issue going forward, both in whom the cardinals finally vote for as their next pope, but also in how that pope is received globally.
It's very interesting because in his tone, there are those that say, particularly go back to 2013, where he talked about the issue of gay clergy. And his quote at the time, he said, "Who am I to judge?" And that was taken by many as a very progressive step. And yet there are those that look at the doctrine on both sides and say either he's gone too far or hasn't gone far enough. But the doctrine, he stays firmly to the Catholic stance on many of its teaching. I mentioned before abortion, surrogacy. He called that diabolical, the act of surrogacy, euthanasia, gender reassignment, which he called ugly. And yet, tonally, he met with a number of trans groups. He also said that they could be given blessings in the church. He stopped short of saying that they could have holy matrimony in terms of marriage. But there's the bind, I guess, ultimately for whoever leads the Catholic Church. And you talked about the criticism that he was too, quote, woke. There is a saying, isn't there, in Rome, after fat pope, a thin one. It was seen that John Paul II, Cardinal Ratzinger as well, who became Benedict XVI, that they were within that rigid role, and where he is to many seen as much more progressive and advanced. And I guess that also leads to a question of what comes next.
Absolutely. And just to take the first part of what you said, those words, "Who am I to judge?" were truly powerful, because this was the Pope. The Pope was the one always to judge. And for him to actually say that was so telling, and in a way captured so much what he represented, a kind of openness. But it had very strict limits. And it had limits on the ground as well. And this comes to the second thing that you said. He could say, yes, we have to bless gay couples. But in fact, in many, many parts of the world, that was never done. And in fact, the African bishops came out and said, we're not blessing any gay couples. We don't believe in this. We strongly condemn it. And there are many who can perhaps predict or forecast that the next pope, in terms of the pendulum swinging backwards, might come from Africa. It's the fastest growing population of Catholics. You've got 250 million or so already, and growing fast in number. And yet the African church, so much as you can call it one entity, is a very, very conservative one. Mm-hmm. It's way to the right, if you like, more conservative socially than Europe and most of America, the Americas. So for them to choose as the next pope the first black pope would make sense, both demographically, but also in terms of the pendulum. It would look like a kind of progressive, groundbreaking act, but in fact, in terms of the theology, would swing back to what was there before Francis.
It's a very interesting.
So that is what I wanted to actually talk about next, is the rise of Catholicism in Africa, and could the next pope be a conservative, very conservative black pope? And I think liberals are up in arms that in order to have their DEI candidate, they'd have to lose their DEI, because it would just be a godly candidate.
Africans as a champion of the continent. Francis's anti-colonial stance and fierce criticism of imperialism won him many fans there. Now, with his passing, many are asking if it is time for the first African pope. Some African contenders' names have been circulating, but it remains unclear how much of a chance they really have.
In the heart of the Kenyan capital of Nairobi, hundreds of Catholics gathered to bid a final farewell to a man who they felt spoke out for Africa. With his fierce criticism of imperialism, colonialism, and global inequality, Pope Francis became a voice for the continent. He was the first Latin American pope. Now many here feel that an African pope is not a question of if, but when.
My greatest wish is that the next pope be a black man. But if he isn't in the end, then I would like to see a white man who is a true leader.
Among the African contenders for the papacy are Cardinal Peter Turkson, who was Pope Benedict's peace envoy to South Sudan. He has spoken out against criminalizing homosexuality. Another candidate is the Archbishop of Kinshasa, Fridolin Ambongo Besungu, a critic of global oil and mining companies. Both had the respect of Pope Francis, and many hope that if elected, they would continue his legacy.
We pray to God that the new pope will be an even more courageous pope, one who dares to make decisions against everything that is being spread in the name of globalization and civilization. The more we move forward, the more the civilization of love is disappearing from our hearts. We hope for a pope who will come to us to remind us once again of the very essence of the human condition.
A pope of African descent would be historic, but Vatican insiders are skeptical. They say the Church still struggles with racism internally and is yet to fully address scandals of abuse and discrimination. But the final choice, according to millions of Catholics, is not solely up to the cardinals.
What we believe is that the whole process of electing a pope is not simply in the hands of the cardinals who do it. We believe that it is in the hands of the Holy Spirit, that the Holy Spirit moves and acts in the Church in order to provide us with the leader that we need at any point in time.
The Vatican says that over the past year, 7 million Africans have converted to Catholicism, making the continent one of the fastest growing regions for the Church. Many in Africa believe Pope Francis was one of the main reasons for this.
Well, for more, we want to cross over now to our course.
So, could you get a black pope? I would like to discuss, this is Bishop Mari Emmanuel, and he was talking about the woke pope, and I really don't like Patrick Bet-David, so just please forgive that, but I like what Mari says about the kind of the corruption in the church here.
Part where the leaders of many of these churches are caving to being too tolerant and accepting of everything and let anybody, and I mean, the Pope just had a group of transgenders over at the, what do you call it?
For luncheon, a luncheon?
And then he's saying, hey, we need to be asking theologians to demasculize the Catholic Church. He urges religions to unite against environmental devastation. A lot of these weird things that he is saying, which is let's be more tolerant, let's be more tolerant, let's be more tolerant. So do you think that could be one of the reasons why the church isn't growing the way that it used to be?
Absolutely. The Lord Jesus, if we were to compare him to any other religious figure, I just want to come back to this point where you said Islam is growing and Christianity is not. If we were to compare, even though there is no comparison, but let us compare him for a moment with other religious figures, with all love and respect. Let's say Islamism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Shintoism, all the religions of the world, and all the leaders of those religions. Let's say the ultimate they could have achieved in their life in relation to humanity, they would have probably achieved the ultimate by changing a bad person into a good person, by bringing some values, morals, and whatever they brought with. So they would have changed a bad person into a good person. Jesus Christ of Nazareth, all glory to his holy name. He did not come to change a bad person into a good person. He came to change a dead person into a living one. In this, there is no comparison.
Play that one
Jesus
more time.
Christ stands supreme.
I want to cut this as a clip. This is, I saw this clip, and this is the essence of salvation. And I want you guys to understand that this is what we're missing in real Christianity. It's not about stopping drugs. It's not about just turning around and just being a better person. You know when you have real salvation. And this real salvation happens when a dead person is turned into a live person. When a person who has been shackled by the chains of sin, it's okay, I'm going right back to it. I rewound it because I'm gonna play it a second time. Shackled by the chains of sin is unshackled by those same chains of sin and is living a life in Christ. So I'm gonna play this one more time because it's like probably one of the most powerful
whatever
things
they
I've
brought
heard.
with. So they would have changed a bad person into a good person. Jesus Christ of Nazareth, all glory to his holy name. He did not come to change a bad person into a good person. He came to change a dead person into a living one. In this, there is no comparison. Jesus Christ stands supreme, alone, and high up there, beyond any other religious figure. The problem, dear Patrick, the problem of the church leaders is one thing. The beginning, the very beginning with Christ, a relationship with Christ, it begins with death. He said, carry my cross and follow me. And this is what I meant to say when he said, my house is the house of prayer, and you've turned it into a den of thieves. What's associated with Christ is glory. And what is Christ's glory? The cross. What is cross? Death. What is death? Self-denial. This is the human dilemma. We cannot deny ourselves. Why? Because I need to give up on the things I love, I want to do, I choose to do. For me to give up on them, I cannot. It's a struggle. But the Lord says, unless I live in you and no longer is you, you cannot make it. When the church leader puts himself on the throne and make himself seen to the congregation and to the faithfuls, he's lost himself. He's lost the flock with him. He needs to reflect Christ to the congregation, not himself. A leader that makes followers love him, not Christ, is a failure. But the leader that makes the followers love Christ through him, that is a successful leader. Today, leaders are sitting on those thrones. And by the way, that throne is Christ's. It's not mine. All of us we were in the pig's field. Who brought me out of that pig's field? Who brought me out of the filth of the world and the temptation of the world? The blood of the Lamb of God who was shed on Calvary. Now, when I look at the cross, that is the power of God. This is the ultimate love, when I give my life for the one I love. When I give my life for the one I love. And we see this love illustrated in a very sort of small level, at parenthood level. Parents. If I ask a father or a mother, why are you working so hard? What are you trying to do? I'm running, I'm doing this, I'm working 24/7 nonstop because I want to provide a good future for my children. I want them to be healthy. I want them to be prosperous, successful. I am devoting my time and sacrificing that time, which is life, for my children, for their well-being. Why are you doing this? Is this weakness? No, this is the heart of strength and power. When you give your life for the one you love. The problem with the church, the moment the leader is seen, not Christ, there is no power in that leader. There is no power in that church. The current of the world will wash it away. And this is what we're seeing. You know, when pandemic hit, I always say this. I'm not judging. If anything, I'm judging myself. I'm not judging. God is the judge. But it hurts me so deeply and so profoundly. The Lord Jesus has been crying out from Calvary on the cross for over 1,600 years for the church to be united in him, for the church to be united in him. You see all these different factions, Catholics, Orthodoxy, or Eastern and Oriental. You see Protestant branches, thousands of branches in there. The Lord is saying, unite, unite, unite. Till this very moment, we haven't put a smile on the Lord's face by uniting in his name. But when the vaccine came, when the pandemic came, all church leaders spoke the same language. Amazing. We did not unite for Christ, but we united for Satan. Now, to me, Christ is missing. Christ is missing. You know, certain people came out and spoke about what was happening in the world. I know their backgrounds. It doesn't take a genius to figure out who these people are and where their backgrounds are. How come, like, someone in this influential position who is well-educated and well-informed and embedded in scriptures and other fields, you do not know where this is coming from? You do not know. But for you to be silent, and not only silent, I wish they were silent, but they were supportive and encouraging and standing on that pulpit and encouraging the flock to follow suit. For me, this is total denial of Jesus Christ in the making, and that's why Satan has engulfed the churches and took it away to
Wow. I will say this, though, that what has also happened is that because the devil is so smart and so smooth, that he saw that everybody who was awake to see that the vaccine, the pandemic, was a scam, that we replaced Christianity because our Christianity and the church was not standing up. We then replaced our faith with a faith in man, a faith in science, a faith in podcasters, a faith in doctors. And in telling us not to have faith in doctors, we had faith in doctors. And we spent too much time focusing on the who, what, where, why, and how of the bad guys that we lost focus on the good guy, which is Jesus. And so there is a pendulum that will be swinging back because a door was opened up wide with COVID to bring in a bunch of people as truth tellers who are missing the absolute truth that Jesus Christ came and lived and died so that we could die to ourselves to live to him. And sin is rampant within the MAGA movement. It is a scourge. It is a pervasive death. I'm not another pandemic, but another pandemic. It is a You want to talk about a pandemic, you want to talk about an epidemic is what I want to talk about. We have some friends who are making a video series for Patrick Byrne. Love them. And they want us to advertise. And I don't have the heart to tell them that I can't, because Patrick Byrne is a cad. Patrick Byrne is a schmoozer. He is a womanizer, and he jumped onto the MAGA movement. And when I look at people who maybe they're anti-Trump, but they live a holy life, and I look at somebody who may, come in and talk about election integrity and say Trump won, but you live a life of a womanizing guy who sleeps around, and you're going to bring in sin. And I will tell you guys, when you rub shoulders and listen to and allow people who are in sin to speak into your life, then it does get on you. And I think that that's what Michelle and I have been trying to gently lead you guys away from the rah-rah Trump movement, because I will tell you this, it is causing you to compromise on your own belief system. That if the pandemic tried to get you to compromise on getting a vaccine or wearing a mask, how much more now with the election integrity movement kind of being definitely and completely infiltrated by people who, and even maybe not even infiltrated, maybe just even ran from the beginning by people who were not of upstanding and moral positions, and maybe tried to present themselves as people of upstanding and moral positions. But when you do not live that life fully and completely, it will come and your sins will find you out. And
the scripture that comes to mind, I was just listening today in 1 Timothy, they went out from us, but they were not all from us.
Yeah.
And they had a form of godliness, and we said this the other day, but they denied the power thereof. They have, so that's why you're so attracted to them, because they have a form of godliness.
But however, like a Joe Rogan, which we do play his clips because he has good people on, okay? Some very good truth tellers. But the problem with our truth telling is that I believe that the church has become so soft on telling the truth that we can recognize that certain facts ring true without the underlying principle of, now what does God have to say about this? And we've coined new phrases. I'm electing a president, not a pastor, okay? And in that, we have replaced our pastors with podcasters. And we have, because there are no pastors, and I get that. However, there's a fervent rage out there to be just like the pastors who are clickbaiting, telling you the things you want to hear, itching your ears, trying to be overly positive, trying to overly spin things when they just need to be a Charles Spurgeon and just preach straight word of God.
Come on.
But you know what? Charles Spurgeon weighed in on the events of the day.
Did you read my comment from earlier?
No.
I said I disagreed with you on the Pope because you said that you were describing him, that he often weighed in on things that he should not. And I totally disagree. And of course you agree
mean the
too.
Pope should weigh in?
The Pope should totally weigh in on things that are political. He needs to do so from a biblical stance, though. That was the problem.
Yeah. So I want to go back just a little bit in a time capsule and just we talked about his wokeness a little bit, and I didn't bring up what is that, when he was over in South America and he brought in the idols, but I wanted to kind of bring up the sex abuse scandals in the church here. So how did Pope Francis deal with those? And I'm going to play a clip of Vigano calling him out as well.
Okay.
Just right to the right. You can close that down.
It still took Francis a while to learn how bad the sex abuse scandal was, how pervasive it was, and how global it was. And he made mistakes. He admitted he made mistakes.
I keep this picture to remind me of this kid, so innocent and so fun, and then so many years of darkness.
So that was a sex abuse survivor.
Santiago, Chile.
I was 14, 15 years old. My dad died, and I was extremely sad. So someone said, hey, why don't you go to see Father Fernando Caradima? I went with, my little uniform from school, and the first thing he said to me is, Juan Carlos, I will be your spiritual director, but you owe me obedience.
It was a horrific case of abuse by this almost cult-like figure of Father Caradima.
Father Caradima had been sanctioned for the abuse by Pope Benedict, but controversy about the long-standing cover-up continued when Pope Francis appointed one of Caradima's alleged protectors, Juan Barros, to bishop.
Chile, 2018.
In 2018, Pope Francis went to Chile, and this visit became a real inflection point in his papacy.
We came in from the airport in the motorcade, and there were no crowds. And if there were crowds, they were holding up protest banners.
He is asked by a reporter about the allegations against Bishop Barros, and he snaps.
The day they bring me one piece of evidence against the bishop, and then I'll see.
Not one single piece of evidence. It's all calumny.
Francis couldn't get it through his mind that bishops might be lying to him. Bishops? They don't lie to the Pope.
He sent his investigators to check out the situation and to do this huge in-depth investigation.
And then he did a very dramatic about-face. He invited Juan Carlos and the others to Rome to apologize to them in person.
To be respected and to be acknowledged that way when nobody had done that for me or for any survivor, it just meant the world.
Pope Francis summoned the Chilean bishops to Rome. He forced them all to resign en masse. In the end, he accepted only 9, but it was quite impressive.
Tuve que intervenir y fue mi conversión a esto. Ahí me convertí en el viaje a Chile. Pero ahí usted fue testigo de que yo mismo me tuve que despertar frente a casos que estaban todos tapados, ¿no?
I think the Pope realized that he had made a terrible mistake and went on to develop a lovely relationship with Juan Carlos.
He also appointed Juan Carlos to the Vatican's Advisory Commission on Clergy Sexual Abuse.
I've always said I want to try and help from within.
The sexual abuse and the cover-up have damaged the church more than anything else in centuries. It has caused countless numbers of Catholics to leave the church.
There's the old adage that the Vatican thinks in terms of centuries. Change is not in the Vatican's DNA, but that was the position that he was placed in. He did his best on the issue of sex abuse.
He held this historic summit, and he issued new Vatican laws for mandatory reporting, for, targeting bishops who cover up.
But whatever he did was never enough, partly because the issues that he had to deal with were just so enormous, no one person could deal with them in any one papacy.
I don't
Clerical
know.
sexual abuse victim Juan Carlos Cruz has.
So I think that the Pope brought this guy in close.
Exactly.
Because where are the other thousands of people that I haven't seen them say that they got brought in close?
Exactly.
And then I do have this other one. One of these sex abuse victims quits the commission.
Vatican faces new fallout this morning over the clergy sex abuse scandal. A founding member of a commission set up 3 years ago to protect minors from sexual abuse in the Catholic Church has now quit. She accuses the Vatican of stonewalling efforts by the panel set up by Pope Francis. Seth Doan is in Rome, just outside Vatican City, with how the controversy is putting a harsh light on church insiders. Seth, good morning.
Good morning. This is a very public blow to the Vatican on a very sensitive issue. At the core, a woman who is a victim of church sex abuse, who says there is a cultural resistance to change here at the Vatican.
it was better for me to come out and be able to speak about it, because these men, they thrive on silence and cover up.
Mary Collins, who was sexually abused by a priest as a teenager, tired of what she called constant setbacks in her work on a panel set up by Pope Francis to protect minors from sex abuse. We spoke with her this morning at her home in Dublin, Ireland.
To find that there's still a group of men in this level in the church who do not see child protection as a priority, that do not get it in 2017, it's just unacceptable.
In her resignation letter, Collins wrote she believes the Pope is sincere in his efforts, but the resistance by some members of the Vatican Curia, or church administration, has been shameful.
Sometimes I feel the Pope does make mistakes. He's badly advised, but you're dependent in that position, I think, on those around you for advice.
She's bringing up good issues.
Monsignor Anthony Figueiredo is a CBS News consultant.
What Americans are going to hear in all of this is the Catholic Church still is not serious about dealing with this issue of sex abuse.
It's very, very serious. Perhaps more than any other organization in the world, the Catholic Church has taken this on board.
Boston Cardinal Sean O'Malley, who heads the commission, said in a statement, "We will certainly listen carefully to all that Mary wishes to share with us about her concerns." The only other sex abuse victim on the panel, Peter Saunders, was critical of it and forced out last year. Recently, the Pope has been criticized for being too lenient on at least one pedophile priest. Instead of defrocking him, he was removed from public ministry and Nora sentenced to a lifetime of prayer.
Questions remain. Seth Doan in Rome. Thank you.
What a
gosh.
sentence.
Wow.
Now, this is the letter from Vigano that really got our attention. This was from 6 years ago.
Explosive that Pope Francis covered up sexual abuse in the American church. But is it true? I won't say a single word about this, he said. The allegation is that he knew Cardinal Theodore McCarrick was abusive to adults, but did nothing for years until the Cardinal resigned last month. In an unprecedented letter, Archbishop Carlo Vigano claims Francis heads a conspiracy of silence, like in the mafia. Set a good example, he urges, and resign. Vigano, though, offered no evidence, and he is an arch critic of Francis.
He produced this document when Pope Francis was in the ground zero of clerical sexual abuse, Ireland. So it was designed for maximum damage to Francis.
Tonight, a prominent US cardinal spoke out.
My experience with the Pope is that as soon as he knows about something, he acts on it.
It's a church still reeling from Pennsylvania's grand jury report detailing sexual abuse of children by hundreds of priests. This weekend in Ireland, the Pope begged forgiveness for similar crimes amid street protests and a church divided. Well, these have been the most challenging days of Francis's papacy, facing dissent in Ireland, open revolt here in the Vatican, and in the US, a church tonight that is still in turmoil.
Yeah, so those were some of the highlights from Pope Francis's
cover-up
minute papacy. There are still many questions on how he came to be, because Pope Benedict II resigned, which was historic, rather than died.
Right.
And he was looking into these things heavier. He was looking more into the, I really truly think money is the root of all these problems. And so we'll just pray, God, I just pray that you lift up a leader who will expose the, expose those who need to be exposed, that they would, that you would make sure that the right leader of the Catholic Church gets elected, and that you would root out all of the bad shepherds who are eating the sheep, who are using false nomenclature, false words, false preaching. And I just ask you, Father God, for a cleansing right now of the Catholic Church and Catholic organization, and that people who do join the Catholic Church would be filled with faith in Jesus Christ and not in Mary or praying to the saints, but that their hope and their eternal hope would be in Jesus Christ, Savior of the universe, and that the motion and the stance of the Catholic Church would switch that from Marian apparitions and fake signs and wonders and tears falling from statues, or even the mother of God to the Father, just being one with the Father, being one with God, the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and that you would remove from them this cult-like, belief system in the priests or the Pope as infallible, because let's just be honest here, nobody believes that the Pope is infallible. And so I pray that you would raise up a man who is honest, who is filled with the power of God and the Holy Spirit, to be able to really, truly cleanse the homosexuality, the liberalism, the federal pedophilia, the monetary scandals, and just cleanse all this out by the power of the Holy Spirit, so that people can again go to church and love God and honor you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So speaking of scandals, sexual scandals, and I had this for last week, but I'm going to play it this week. We're going to Britain. 250,000 white British girls have been essayed in the last 25 years by the perpetrators are 90% Muslim. It's way over here to the left. Not the far left, but the second. They close that one. There it is. Yeah.
But accept that if we extrapolate nationally, the Jay report on Rotherham and other reports on Telford and Oxford, there appear to have been upwards of 250,000 young white girls raped in this century, very largely by Muslim men. And given these girls are usually raped several times a day for years, so, my lords, what is the government's answer to the Chief Constable of Northumbria, who has just said that there is every likelihood that these grooming gangs are operating in every one of our major cities? So, my lords, what is the government doing to prosecute those in authority who turned a blind eye to all this because they were afraid of being Islamophobic and so on? And what is it doing to compensate and help these victims mentally? But accept that if we extrapolate nationally.
So that obviously threw people up in arms. You can't say that they're Muslims, even though 90% are Muslims. You can't, causation isn't correlation, whatever. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. JD Vance, Michelle, this one over here. We're going to jump over to India real quick because this did happen this week. JD Vance's wife is Indian and she is Hindu. And JD Vance went to visit Modi there in India, and he's trying to win over India, and I'm sure it's not going to be a hard sell. He called India critical to a prosperous and peaceful century, meaning we need them. He wasn't just being nice. The U.S. is trying to win India over and fast. Why? Because China is no longer playing nice, and America needs a new partner. Why? India brings 1.4 billion people, a booming economy, a huge military, and a geopolitical leverage in Asia. No wonder Trump team is offering New Delhi some serious gear. The F-35 stealth fighters, the crown jewel of the U.S. military tech. This is a massive shift. For decades, India relied on Russian fighter jets. Now America wants to wean India off of Moscow's influence by supplying high-end defense tech. And let me explain something. This is just to make money for Lockheed Martin. Because why does India need fighter jets?
Exactly.
Hello,
Leah,
we got
don't
subway
do it.
for
Here
you.
it comes.
You not take subways. You not allow us to build subway, take over your subways and your 7-Elevens. We will what?
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the twist. While the U.S. is offering India F-35s, it's also quietly approved $397 million in funding to help Pakistan maintain its fleet of F-16s. Explain to me why I'm sending, or why we're sending $400 million to Pakistan so they can have jets. So that, guess what? This is called money laundering. How did Nikki Haley make money? She goes to the board, I believe it's Lockheed Martin or one of those defense contractors. She has $0. Suddenly she's a millionaire because we give money to Pakistan so they can have fighter jets, but we're not actually giving that to Pakistan. We're giving it to Lockheed Martin so they can give it to Pakistan. And if Nikki Haley's on the board of Lockheed Martin, then Lockheed Martin is paying Nikki Haley. That's how money laundering in the government works. And then on April 22nd, everything changed. Gunmen stormed the Basaran Valley in, I was going to say Kashmir, a tourist paradise. Remember this one? 26 civilians were killed. Most were Indian tourists. It was the deadliest civilian attack in Kashmir in over 2 decades. India blames Pakistan-backed groups, who then we are what? Are those the groups we're giving F-16s to? Indian agencies say the Resistance Front, a Lashkar-e-Taiba proxy, was behind it. Islamabad denies involvement, and India isn't waiting for apologies in less than 24 hours. India hit back diplomatically, shut down a border crossing, suspended a water treaty, expelled Pakistani diplomats. And then this water treaty that had been in place since 1960 has survived wars. They suspend it. Why? It's massive. It threatens Pakistan's access to Western rivers, a critical water source for survival. This isn't symbolic. It's existential. So where does the U.S. stand on all of this? The U.S. VP Vance has just posed with Prime Minister of India and praised the trade deals. Now Washington finds itself in a tough spot, watching 2 nuclear neighbors inch closer to conflict. For perspective, India and Pakistan have fought multiple wars, mostly over Kashmir. Since 2021, things were relatively calm. India focused on global details. Pakistan was busy on internal issues, but that fragile calm may be broken. The timing couldn't be more volatile. Pakistan's military is under pressure. Modi's India is flexing hard power. The U.S. is playing both sides. F-35s for India, F-16 funds for Pakistan. This sounds like a bad game of, hey, let's play Battleship, but it's not a game. So what does America really want here? America wants India as a counterbalance against China, but South Asia doesn't wait for global strategy to catch up. The Kashmir attack may force Washington to pick a side or risk losing influence in the region. India's message is clear. Our resolve to fight terrorism is unshakable. Implications for global trade and alliances. India could grow closer to the U.S., moving further from Russia. The U.S. trade may surge, especially in tech, energy, and defense. Tensions with Pakistan could disrupt supply chains and investment in South Asia. And China is watching and recalibrating. Implications for businesses and individuals. Defense and energy firms may see big opportunities in India. Companies reliant on stability in South Asia must prepare for disruptions. Investors should watch for volatility in markets tied to India and Pakistan. For individuals, increased scrutiny on visas and travel between 2 countries. What could happen next? Well, will the U.S. double down on India and keep juggling both sides? Will India escalate its military or economic pressure on Pakistan? And could this spark another conflict in Kashmir? So that's what's happening over in India. Craziness. We know we get a lot of medical supplies from India. And we know that tech is made and done in India. And we also know that all of our call centers are in India. So we must, make sure that Cincinnati Bell you can still call them over India for your Fi Optics.
Leah Barry says, Michelle, India and Pakistan are actually gearing up for war. It's already starting to break out on the streets of the British cities. That's interesting. MGT says,
I did see that, Barry. I don't know if you sent it to me, but I did see that.
It says the Labour Party are commies. What do you want, honestly? Barry says the Labour Party are not doing anything about holding a national inquiry into this because they are actually implicated in this abuse at the highest levels of Whitehall and Number 10.
So what's interesting right now is India-Pakistan is trending right now.
Stuart the Brit says India and Pakistan have been fighting over Kashmir for centuries. Buzzy says, Leah Michelle, do you really believe the Pope is going to heaven?
No.
That's a hard no for me. It's not even a squishy no. I know where he is burning in hell right now. That's why. And hence did you see the hellfire that I put here for today? That was in honor of his popage.
So somebody said the only solution for the India-Pakistan conflict is a single state solution, which is British India, what it used to be, together as one. You can go to my Twitter and you can see the video I just tweeted out on the streets of London that they are trying to battle it out, Indians and Pakistans.
Oh dear.
I say, if you're going to do this, take it home. Take it home. You don't get to do this.
Oh, sorry, hang on. I have a feeling that
on this, and then they said thanks to the Israeli supporters to help up over here for India.
Oh my. Okay, well, Barry's right. It's happening. It's legit over there. Wow.
Wow. Okay. Meanwhile, in Japan, in the Japanese legislature, one legislature, I don't know what you call them over there in the parliament, members of parliament, calls Americans extortionists over Trump's tariffs. So you're going to need to read this. I thought it was enlightening.
Okay, let me turn it up just a little bit. What the U.S. is saying is already an impossible task. The theory is already a mess, and there is no consistency whatsoever. However, if Japan were to negotiate about what they have been saying, well, to put it bluntly, it would be akin to a delinquent kid extorting someone. If Japan listens to this and bends the other way in response to the impossible demands of bargaining and deals, it will set a bad example as a customary and historical precedent. If you get mugged and put money in their hands, they will come back to mug us. To begin with, even that formula is a mess. I was never good at math either, but I'm pretty sure that, if that question was given in math, it would be a formula that would get a 0. That's how it is. That Minister Akazawa is serious and capable, but is it safe for a serious person to go there? He's not a straight partner, so he won't listen to our straight talk, as you said, considering every option, but you should never make concessions to someone who is not straight up anyway.
That's what I say about Donald Trump.
If you had to ask them to ease up on that, what did he say? If you had to ask him to ease up on that, it would be a bad example. Anyway, I hope that you will never give in to the American extortionists. I know this is harsh to say, but they are extortionists. If you listen to what they say, it will be a really bad example. Although you may not have much time, but I really hope that you will watch the documentary on Mr. Trump by Mr. Roy Cohen, the lawyer who brought him up. And I hope you will watch the various video feeds to get an idea of what kind of person Mr. Trump is. When you see that already, you will really think he's like that kind of person. And at the time of this tariff review, he had a lot of time to spare. And he was playing golf, at the golf course, at the gym. It's not that conclusion after worrying about. He's really poking fun at the world. Well, Minister Akazawa is a serious person, and so is Mr. Awaya. If you approach people like that in a serious manner, you'll definitely get beaten. I think Minister Awaya, you were also very energetic in many ways when you were younger, so I would like you to remember that. I would like to ask you, Minister Awaya, to demonstrate your mischievous, playful spirit in negotiations with the U.S. and to promise not to be bullied by the U.S., he says with a smile on his face. I would like to conclude my question by asking you to promise to do so. Thank you. Well, as you already know, the tariff measures by the U.S. are changing like a daily menu, and they are changing rapidly. I believe that the situation is still very fluid. So it is impossible to say definitively that the situation will continue, etc. I think it is important to first seek a review through negotiations and outreach. There you go.
Interesting. When you watch some of these videos, you are reminded how, even though we speak a different language, that certain cultures actually do align in a similar manner. And just the manner in which that minister spoke and the other minister responded, you can tell that our cultures are not too far off. And that Trump is definitely pulling people's legs, and it's not good. And I feel like it's not a good look for America on the world stage, because when you come to a negotiating table, you do want to be honest. You want to be on the up and up, and you certainly don't want to be the bully who's playing all the cards and changing everything like it is a daily menu.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, I just thought this was interesting. This is the world map that you're used to seeing, but did you know that they expand? You can close that one out. For maps, they expand them to fit this round globe. And in relation to the actual sizes, the actual size of each of the countries, this is how they are. And I was just kind of shocked. I watched this like 10 times.
Wait a minute.
So Canada's not that big. Alaska's not that big. Greenland's obviously not that big. And Russia, because somebody said, explain to me why Russia is like 5,600 kilometers and
but why does it
Africa
have to be
yeah, it's why does it's to fill it up, and because the globe is round and it's to fill it up. It's to fill it because it's not, you can't do it flat. It doesn't work flat.
But what about when you look at it flat like this?
But they're connected, so you can't. It just doesn't work, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm telling you, I don't trust whatever this is.
Those are their true sizes.
No, but why not just make them their true sizes?
You can't. It's a optical illusion. Yes.
No.
Why are countries?
I don't know. You saw one thing on the internet and now you're believing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know. Everybody else is doing the same thing I am. Like, huh? Then how does it go together?
It's the Mercator projection exaggerates areas. It's called the Mercator map. Exaggerates areas far from the equator. The closer to the poles of the Earth, the greater the distortion. So, like the poles, because it's like rounder, it's exaggerated. Yep. The size of those countries on most world maps, especially those using the Mercator projection, are not accurate because it's impossible to perfectly represent a three-dimensional sphere of Earth on a flat two-dimensional plane. This leads to distortions, especially near the poles. And actually, if you look at the like images, you can really see it. Clever
no,
map.
but I need to see them connected.
You can't, because
I
it
need
doesn't
to see
fill
them
the
connected.
globe.
I need to see them connected.
Russia really gets and Canada gets
Get out of town.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
And Alaska's not that big.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a lie.
Everything's a lie.
Can't believe that.
All right. Did you know at a Texas A&M public hearing, we found that Texas A&M University is being secretly funded by Qatar, and they are sending all of their intellectual property overseas, including nuclear research.
No.
We did a report on Texas A&M. We found $1.3 billion in undocumented money between the Qatari regime and Texas A&M. We found 502 research projects. Texas A&M gave all of their intellectual property rights to the Qatari regime. 58 projects we flagged that have military dual-use purpose. 13 have nuclear research dual-use purposes. Qatar has very good relations with the Iranian Revolutionary Regime, Hamas, and the Taliban. At Cornell University, we found $2 billion in unreported, undocumented funding going from Qatar to Cornell.
Oh my gosh.
K through 12, we just published a report. Hundreds of millions of dollars going to create curriculum across the United States of America for children that remove Jews and Christians from curriculum about the Middle East.
Oh my gosh.
How Qatari funding is shaping the U.S. and actually Israeli schools. This report exposed Qatar's hidden $3 billion funding to universities and K through 12 schools. What? Influencing curriculum and with anti-Israel narratives. Researchers link funds to academic and policy shifts. In 2011, Dr. Charles Small, the head of Yale Initiative for the Interdisciplinary Study of Anti-Semitism, was informed that the center, North America's first university-based institute dedicated to anti-Semitism research, would be shut down just 5 years after its founding. Yale University stated that the center had failed to meet academic expectations.
Wow.
There was more to that report. Let me see here. Qatar's footprint on the American higher education system. Chairman Hefner, this was a testimony before Congress, I guess. On behalf of the Foundation of the Defense of Democracies, Qatar is on a spending spree in America higher education. In 2024, Qatar was among the top 5 foreign donors. Why are they donating to American colleges and universities? Deep pocket donors like China and Saudi Arabia. With approximately 11% of the world's national gas reserves and only 330,000 citizens, they only have 330,000 citizens. But their ample wealth has been spent buying prestige and influence. Doha's wallet is a major source of soft power that it leverages to whitewash its reputation and advance its interest abroad. Where did Andrew Tate just fly to? Qatar. Pictured with some sort of Muslim Brotherhood leader who said, "Welcome back, brother." According to the federal disclosure data, colleges and universities accepted $6.2 billion from Qatar since 2001. However, Qatar's total spending likely exceeds that figure. So what exactly are they getting? I don't know yet.
Well, no, I think it's very simple. When they want to eradicate Christianity and biblical principles from education, then they can. This is how they're creating these woke mobs that are, free Palestine.
Well, that's true too, but they're obviously getting more intellectual property and things like that. So
that was from the higher education, obviously not from the K through 12.
Right. Yeah. All right. So I wanted to go over here to, I think this is, I need to hear their accent. I think it's New Zealand. It's either New Zealand or Australia. But this was so funny on how energy companies pay a tax of 78. Energy companies pay a 78% tax on their profits. Cut the tax and the bills will come down, but it doesn't make sense for this particular.
Energy companies in this country are taxed at 78% on energy profits.
Maybe
that
it's
pushes
just UK.
up prices
I guess it's
too.
just UK.
No, that's wrong. Look,
it's not 78%?
It is 78%, but it's not incredible.
Whereas obviously regular corporate tax is 25%.
It's really important to make this point. Oil and gas is set, the price of oil and gas is set on the international market. The reason why...
That's the raw commodity price, in the same way that the prices of batteries is set on the raw, the raw commodity price.
It's not set by the tax rate on UK companies, is what I'm saying. It's set by the global price. You see,
I understand that, but you're saying that tax rates don't impact pricing?
I'm saying that in relation to oil and gas, they don't, because the truth is that the price for our oil and gas is set internationally. And let me explain. Let me just, if you just let me make the point. Why did prices go through the roof when Russia invaded Ukraine? Right, well, our prices went through the roof, even though we imported a very small amount from Russia. That's because whether the gas was coming from the North Sea or internationally, it was priced on the international market. That's why we're in the grip of fossil fuel markets controlled by others, petrostates and data's, and that wasn't about the UK tax rate. The UK tax rate could have been cut or higher, and it wouldn't have made an impact.
That's a separate point.
Yeah.
The floating price of commodities is a legitimate but separate point. Another point for why this country has unbelievably high energy prices is that we tax our energy companies.
No, you're wrong. I'm really sorry, but you're wrong about that because the price is set internationally. I'm really sorry, but that's not correct.
OK, well, let's put commodities aside. If you increase taxes on supermarkets to 78%...
It depends whether it's...
If you increase taxes on supermarkets to 78%, what would happen to the price of food?
It depends.
What would happen to the price of food?
It depends whether it's a domestic market where the price is set domestically.
This is a globally unquestionable factor about economics. You're right that your point also applies. You can't flatly deny my point.
I am denying your point when it comes to the question of these internationally set prices. That's the point I'm making.
If you lowered the tax of 78% on energy companies to the regular...
On oil and gas companies, it wouldn't make a difference to the price. In fact...
Yes, it would.
I'm afraid it wouldn't because the point is that the price is set internationally.
But there are lots of things that factor into the price that we pay. The lots of supply chain costs you've mentioned yourself. This is a huge cost in the supply chain.
So the comments on this, and maybe Barry and Stuart the Brit, you can weigh in on this because the comments are all over the place. And people are like, what did I just watch? Okay.
I would like to explain what the crazy guy is trying to say. Okay. He is saying that the price that you pay is set globally. So let's say your price is what's ours per kilowatt hour?
No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying the price that the actual he's saying that the price that the
Is he saying that
companies
the
are
price
buying,
that the company is buying it at is set internationally?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that would be different.
And so it's so funny is that the comments are going back and forth. There's thousands of comments and everybody's sharing this particular clip, but they're going back and forth. Like one person says, Miliband, the politician, is right. 78% tax is on the profits of oil and gas extractors and producers. Those are not the same companies as the suppliers for households and energies. The suppliers buy the fuel from the international market where all the oil and gas trades at the same price regardless of origin. But then other people are saying the problem is that Miliband didn't know the subject well enough to give the answer, or he'd said what you have just said, then people would not be trolling him now. Although why anyone thinks that lowering tax would decrease prices is beyond me. Time and time again, we see that all that does is increase profits. So the actual suppliers to you aren't getting the 78% tax, but those who are getting it out of the ground are getting a 78% tax. So the question is, if you were to lower that tax there, wouldn't it lower it for the people? And everybody's like, no, they would just keep the profits.
Okay.
So it's just, but why is there 78% tax on anybody for anything?
Right. Especially something that is like necessary.
Yeah. All right. So China unveils the world's first gold ATM. Get this. That will melt, test, and convert gold into instant bank transfers.
No way. Let me find it. There we are. Because we already have seen gold ATMs, but this is something a little bit different than an ATM.
Oh, no. This is, it will melt and test your gold. I want to know how much she got for all that. You know, people over in Asia and China and India actually can wear gold jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
We can't afford it here.
Right.
Like bracelet. Nobody's wearing
But this
gold
is a good point. This is we do this almost every show, but to remind you guys that China is moving to a more gold-centered society. They are already buying up gold, and why is that? Because they know that the global dollar standard, which is the US dollar, is about to go kaput, and the only thing that you're going to be able to bank on at the end of the day is actual metal. Be that gold or silver or palladium or whatever it is that you find your favorite thing. But I'm just saying that China is making the move. They are making their shift. They are preparing their people. They're preparing more themselves even than their people, but they are preparing their people. If you guys would like to get gold and silver and you have questions that you want answered, please go to resistancechicks.com/God's money. Resistancechicks.com/God's money. I'm telling you that Zhang Enterprises will be able to answer all of your questions. Okay, it's a free consultation call that you schedule with them. Lynette is legit. She's the one that invented the Wealth Shield, food, shelter, barterability. Then it's much longer than I don't know why I can't ever remember all of them, but she gets it. She wants you to be prepared to have land. She wants you to be able to be prepared to have water, and then of course she wants you to be able to buy and sell and trade when everything goes kaput.
I forgot one of the biggest stories of this week.
Okay.
And that is the fact that the UK ruled that a woman is a woman.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that. Yeah, I saw that.
That was big, big, big news. So Britain's highest court has ruled that the words woman and sex refer to a biological woman and biological sex. In a landmark decision that follows years of confusion and anger and campaigning, the case sought to clarify the question of whether a person who holds an official certificate recognizing their gender as female is entitled to the same women's rights protection under law. A commonly cited example was the question of whether women-only services, such as a rape crisis support group, were allowed to exclude men with a gender recognition certificate. A gender recognition certificate means that a person's chosen gender identity is legally recognized. Obtaining the certificate requires a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria, having lived as the identified gender for at least 2 years and with the intention to live that way until death. There are 8,000 of these that have been granted. The case was instigated by a campaign group for women in Scotland in 2022, who brought a series of legal challenges beginning in Scotland and culminating in the UK Supreme Court over the definition of the word woman in the gender representation on public boards. This legislation was passed by the Scottish Parliament and mandated that 50% of the individuals on the public boards be female, including in its definition, males who identify as women. Lawyers for Women for Scotland argued that not tying the definition of sex to its ordinary meaning could have far-reaching consequences for sex-based rights. Of course, men keep going back into women's spaces and bathrooms and rape crisis centers. Counsel for the Scottish government argued that the Supreme Court hearing in November 2024 that a person with a gender recognition certificate is recognized in law as having changed his sex. On April 15, the Supreme Court ruled that sex is rooted in biology, not whether a person has chosen to identify as that gender. Delivering the judgment, Lord Patrick Hodge, led by Jesus Christ, just set that out there, Deputy President of the UK Supreme Court, said that the central question is how the words woman and sex are defined in the Equality Act of 2010. The terms woman and sex in the Equality Act of 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex. This means that men who identify as women and who hold a gender recognition certificate may be excluded from single-sex spaces if proportionate. The judges said that while the word biological does not appear in the definition of man or woman in the Equality Act, the ordinary meaning of those plain and unambiguous words corresponds with the biological characteristics. The decision stated that if the word sex did not mean biological sex in 2010 legislation, providers of single-sex spaces, including changing rooms, homeless hostels, and medical services would face practical difficulties. The court said this interpretation of the law does not disadvantage people, blah, blah, blah. So lawmakers could overturn it, and there are still unanswered questions, but women coming out and J.K. Rowling feeling very, very vindicated. Very vindicated. I'm going to see if I can get that.
Let me read some comments. So over here to your question, Barry says, Miliband is a liar. Farage calls him Mad Miliband. He is the green net zero minister. We all know that he is lying. He also, as the green net zero minister, is the most traveled minister in the government with over 40,000 air miles in the last year he has traveled. Fuel on cars has 80% tax on it, and that goes straight to the government coffers. Labor are driving the net zero vehicle hard and taxing the energy companies. This tax, they are passing it on to the public. My niece's electric bill is over 2,000 pounds per year. Her gas bill is over 1,000 pounds per year. Let's see. Off and On says, did the court have an expert testimony from a biologist as to what a woman is? I sure hope so. Experts know their stuff. Let's see. A bear. I don't even know how to. A bear bugyo says, nigh on 6 a.m. in the slave colony of Australia. We'll be back in Japan within weeks. Just checking in on the resistance chicks. Hi ho, hi ho. It's off to work I go. I hope you have a wonderful day at work. Let's see. Let's see. The weirdo sex fad is over finally.
All right. So we've got a couple of videos if you want to bring them up.
From
my
Twitter?
Twitter, yeah.
Okay. On the battle for women being able to be women.
There's been a series of legal challenges through crowdfunding, donations, because this doesn't come cheap. A reported £70,000 donation from J.K. Rowling that you were able to fund the latest legal challenge through the Supreme Court. What do you say to people that say you have been bankrolled by high-profile people like her and that you are, in essence, an anti-trans lobby group?
Well, it's nonsense, really, because we're very grateful to J.K. Rowling for that donation, but the entire cost of this particular judicial review was over £400,000, and most of that came through in small individual donations. I worked out that for our first judicial review, the donations averaged about £37. So it was literally thousands of women giving us small amounts. We really do appreciate that. And I think it's quite insulting to them when people think or pretend to think that this is some movement that's funded by high rollers, because it really isn't. As far as, the accusations that we're anti-trans, I would say that only works if you think that people who believe women have the right to privacy, dignity and safety, if you think that being pro-women is in itself inherently anti-trans. It's saying that women are not allowed to have their own political or social movement without hurting other people. And I don't think that's fair or correct.
No, it was very well said.
And then if you scroll down to one more, this is the women fighting the case coming out.
That's awesome. It's not that hard, folks. It's not that hard.
We were in a really difficult place in Scotland then. We thought we were going to see rights for women rolled back, and today the judges have said what we always believed to be the case, that women are protected by their biological sex, that sex is real, and that women can now feel safe, that services and spaces designated for women are for women, and we are enormously grateful to the Supreme Court for this ruling.
Okay, so let me just be clear here.
Oh my gosh.
This is the problem with our moment that we're living in, right? Because I am happy for you. And I'm happy that you won because logic won. The problem is that most of those women are far left kooky liberals anyways.
I know.
Okay, and we do not align on a lot of stuff. Okay, but what has happened is the left went so far left that they made it so that like we have to now compromise with these people to just make a woman, and we got to work with these people and be, I don't mind working with people.
I do not align with J.K. Rowling on anything on planet Earth. Other than this.
I know. All right, and I do need to do. I'm going to finish up the show with a little bit more on the Pakistan India thing because it seems like,
are we on the brink of war?
I don't know. India and Pakistan are back to the brink of war after last week's terrorist attack, which saw, and I guess we just read about this, but guys, I'm going to be honest. I had read about it before, but I didn't understand that it happened so recently. This was just last week. I read about this. I totally forgot about it. Oh, God forgive us that we can't keep track of everything going on in the world. So terrorists massacred 26 tourists who were relaxing at the Basarian Valley Meadow in Kashmir. So there was a terror attack. Donald Trump, what was his reaction? He said just Friday, I am very close to India and I'm very close to Pakistan, as you know, and they've had that fight for 1,000 years in Kashmir. Kashmir has been going on for 1,000 years, probably longer than that. And it was a bad one yesterday, though. That was a bad one, over 30 people. There have been tensions on that border for 1,500 years. So, the same that it's been and they'll get it figured out one way or another. I'm sure I know both leaders. There is a great tension between Pakistan and India, but there has always been. So the first part of his response can be interpreted as signaling that the U.S. neutrality, giving its traditional strategic partnership with Pakistan and newer one with India. Pakistan has been a major non-NATO ally since 2004, while India was designated as the U.S. first major defense partner in 2016. This state of affairs explains why Trump offered to mediate the Kashmir conflict in July of 2019. He said it was Modi's request, which India denied, and then reiterated his intent that September. So moving along, his historical review of the Kashmir conflict is grossly inaccurate since it stems from the partition of the erstwhile British Raj, not some over millennium-long dispute. Nevertheless, he might have wanted to convey that its religious dimensions owes its origins to the Muslim invasion of the hitherto almost entirely Hindu India centuries ago, to which end he embellished a lot, like he's known to do. This part of his response can therefore be interpreted as reminding everyone that this isn't a new conflict. The last part of his response suggests that he's not interested in mediating at the moment. So, I guess, and if you bring this one up, Michelle, are they on the brink of a nuclear war? It seems that there is something to this water deal going on here. Hostilities leading to India has threatened to block or divert water supplies from the Indus River system, which actually supports 80% of Pakistan's agriculture. The Indus Water Treaty, we talked about this before. I didn't really know much about it, but now we're going to dive into that. September of 1960, determined the rights and obligations of Pakistan and India concerning the use of waters of the Indus River system. The agreement has stood the test of time and has long been hailed as a rare example of cooperation between the two ideologically opposed nations. India's unilateral suspension of the treaty is now being called an act of war by Pakistan.
Let me play this video.
Pakistan and India have exchanged gunfire across the line of control in disputed Kashmir overnight. The flare-up follows an attack on tourists in Pahalgam this week, which killed 26 people and put both nations on high alert. India's army chief is visiting the site and reviewing security. While the UN has called for calm, the nuclear-armed nations have unleashed a raft of measures against each other. India has scrapped a water-sharing treaty with Islamabad. Pakistani officials say any attempt to stop the supply of water to millions of people would be considered an act of war.
Security has been bolstered near India's High Commission in Islamabad after huge protests reached its gates. Pakistan's people and its leaders strongly reject India's allegations that their country is behind Tuesday's attack in Kashmir.
We want to make it clear that there should be no war because the region is an atomic flashpoint. Right now, 3 nuclear powers, Pakistan, India and China, are all here. If war breaks out, more than half the world population could be wiped out.
If the conflict does escalate, it could well be over water supplies.
Our one main peaceful demand was that since Pakistan is an agricultural country and its main focus is on agriculture, the Indus Water Treaty, which was signed between the leaders of India and Pakistan, should not be unilaterally suspended. This would be a direct violation of international laws.
The Indus Water Treaty was signed in 1960 by India and Pakistan and mediated by the World Bank following disputes over the water that flows downstream from rivers in India into the Indus Basin in Pakistan. It split the Indus and its tributaries between the two countries. Over 80% of Pakistan's agriculture relies on this river system. India's suspension of the Indus Water Treaty has infuriated Islamabad.
Any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water belonging to Pakistan, as per the Indus Water Treaty, and the usurpation of the rights of lower riparian will be considered as an act of war and responded with full force across the complete spectrum of national power.
Experts are doubtful that India's current infrastructure along the rivers and waterways would be able to hold back huge volumes of water from flowing into Pakistan. But they believe they could develop ways to slow down or divert water flow into storage systems without informing Pakistan. Threatening the long-standing water treaty is potentially the most existential threat that India is using as retaliation. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi promised to hunt down every person responsible for the attack in Kashmir to the ends of the earth. His words are being demonstrated by what is locally called bulldozer justice in Indian-administered Kashmir, where authorities flattened houses belonging to suspected militants. India accuses one of the men of involvement in Tuesday's attack.
Our Daily Bureau Chief Sandra Petersmann is following the latest developments there. Sandra, one of the biggest bones of contention is this river treaty, which has also sparked protests. Can you put India's threats of blocking Pakistan's main water supply into perspective for us?
It is a very significant development, Gerhard, because the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty is a first. It has never happened before. This water treaty was kept in place over decades of conflict and violence between India and Pakistan, especially in the divided Kashmir region. But now India has called it off. And maybe we should look at the Indus River system, because it's more of a river system than just a river. It has a lot of feeders, and it starts all the way up in Tibet and then goes through Kashmir all the way down to the south of Pakistan, to the port city of Karachi. And of course, India cannot just block the flow of the river overnight. It cannot overnight block Pakistan's access to water, but it could do so in the long run. It could reduce the flow of water of this very crucial river, which is a lifeline for millions on both sides, in India and in Pakistan, by, for instance, building dams, by diverting water into...
So, yeah, keep your eye out there for nuclear war in Pakistan and India. But I do have one last positive video for you. This
We
is
didn't play
in
this one last
Sweden.
week?
No, we kept playing it. It kept coming up.
Okay.
But this is in Sweden, where crowds line up to watch the cows go outside for the first time since winter. And I love that crowds line up.
I don't want to get a copyright strike on the music.
So,
That's
there we
really
have
fun.
it. Yay,
Oh
cows.
my gosh. That's amazing. That's super fun. All right, let me read a couple of comments here before we sign off. All right, let's make the screen big here. Over on YouTube, Stuart the Brit did answer your question, Leah. He said, let's see, that is from Japan, whom is 100% reliant of U.S. military protection. China would take them over in a minute. Don't bite the hand that protects you. He says Britain is huge. Yes, look at the landmass figures. Everything is different than we are told to think. UK, he is a failed politician. This was Miliband. Now he has a job as energy minister, a complete idiot. Soon he goes, he has the job to turn us green 100%, lives in a fantasy land. He says China based its economy on property prices. It has failed hugely. Now they're going full on gold. He says, funny that the land of origins of species now know what a woman is. Whoop, whoop. That's really funny. That took me a minute to follow. That's hilarious. Let's see. Off and On says, if you live in the elite political world where half the people you know are impersonating the opposite gender, perhaps you truly are confused about what a woman is. Leah Sherry wants to know, did he say that he wants a wall on the topic we were just covering? I missed that.
A wall where? With Pakistan, India?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. No, I don't think you can build a wall there.
Okay.
I don't think that that's feasible.
Well, maybe that's what her question was. Let's see. Barry says, off and on, Starmers is actually confused about what a woman is because he gets, oh, I can't read your comments. He thinks that he has a relationship with.
Oh my gosh.
Another person over there. You gotta be careful when you read these comments. Sherry says, great show, ladies. I have a roast with potatoes and carrots simmering. Smells divine. Oh, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Okay? Breaking news. I've been cooking, I feel like my whole life. All right? And my whole life has changed since we got it's a pressure cooker, but it's an instant one. Okay, where you don't have to wait forever for it to build up and then
you don't have to
let it out. Like take forever to come down.
Yeah, you can call me.
All I know is I don't know what brand it is. I got it for $6 at the secondhand shop. And I don't know how many quarts it is. I could just take a guess, 8 quarts, maybe something like that. No, it's gotta be more than that. I think it's more than that. Oh yeah, it's way more than that. Maybe 16 quarts.
2 or 3 gallons.
I don't know. It's a lot. It's big. So that's so it's not 16 quarts. So maybe it is 8 quarts. Because we got a big one over there. It's 8 quarts. Doesn't matter. I don't care what size it is. I'm trying to tell you something. Okay. We have started using that puppy for cooking. We can have a roast done 20 minutes. Like fall off the bone. It's been cooking for 8 hours in the crock pot. Roast. So I'm just telling y'all, if you see one of those puppies at a secondhand shop, you go and grab it. Okay. I mean, there's no dial at the top. There's no pressure indicator. Leah's in a whole nother realm here.
I'm here.
I cooked beans in it this week with the leftover, the center of the ham that Patriot Gallery cooked us for Easter. And I added some celery and some onions and spices and whatnot. Man, those beans were done. Now we did have to soak those overnight, but they were done in literally 12 minutes. Those beans were done in 12 minutes. I'm here to tell y'all something. My life has never gone back.
And you know what though?
What? I overcooked the beans.
No, the beans don't cause gas when pressure cooked.
You're kidding.
No.
Because it pushes all the gas out of it.
No gas.
Oh my gosh. Barry says, Michelle and Lee, I sent you a video of the cows going onto the mountain behind my place as photos too. It's in Messenger. Let's play it next week. It's not an Instapot. Now all y'all may be doing Instapot stuff. Okay. And maybe it's an off brand of an Instapot. I don't know. I think the Instapot has like buttons and stuff like that. Mine's way more basic than that. First time I heard that name, I thought it was a drive-up dispensary. That's really funny. I don't know. It's what is the name of that name brand? Doesn't matter what name brand it is. It looks like a regular old pressure cooker, and then you just slide the little handle up, lock it in place. You put the lid on, you boom, put it in place, fire that puppy up, and I'm learning how to use it without the directions, which is a big deal. Okay, you could put a whole roasted chicken in there, fall off the bone probably in like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I ain't never seen nothing like it. It's like magic. Okay, there's something wrong here. It shouldn't be this way. But if you want quick cooking and you can afford to have, now I will say this: the only drawback is that sometimes you have to cook your meat first and then open it, then add your vegetables and cook it a little bit longer, or otherwise your vegetables will be cooked to smithereens.
That's true.
Okay, that was the only drawback. Post a photo on social media. Next time I cook with it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, make a little
I
video.
will do it. We'll make a little video. Crock pot roast. That's not a roast. You need to try a roast dinner British style. First of all, we've been hearing about y'all's roast for years. I still don't know what it is because it's like having a barbecue. Barbecue over here means a very specific dish. But at the same time, it also means a thing that you will do where you have people over and you cook and eat outside. And you guys have the same definition of a roast over there. Okay. You have them on Wednesdays and you have them on Sundays. It's a roast dinner, but it could mean anything. Y'all people crazy. What is British style? We should do a video on that too. You remember when we did that British food tasting with the eggs and what was that called again? Mm-hmm. All right. We're signing off. It's Sunday. We do not have a program scheduled for tomorrow, but I would like to say if Canadian election results are in, we might do a little live and just let you know what happened. Because I will be watching, you will be watching. We're very excited about this. I definitely you kept saying Polyev the whole time I was gone. And I wasn't here to correct you. Polyev. I can't.
Polyev.
If you guys missed the start of the show, you need to go and watch it again. That was so good. And then I had to leave almost immediately. All right. Speaking of announcements, we will be doing probably a Tuesday Healing for the Fractured Soul and probably a Revelation Red Pill this week. We have a part 2. We have a part 2 for Revelation Red Pill. So that'll be a definite. Probably doing a Healing for the Fractured Soul because we are just going through it. Man, literally every week, everything you're getting on Healing for the Fractured Soul, it's just our life. It's hilarious. So Leah's like, Michelle, you got a show? Well, I don't know. What are we living today, Leah? That's kind of how the Tuesdays and Wednesday shows are working out. On Friday, we'll be back for our news for our domestic news. And then launching on Saturday. So this is good for you guys to know. We are launching our Mother's Day sale and 4 new products on shop.resistancechicks.com, the general store. So we're launching, I don't have the labels. We're waiting on the labels so I can get it put up on the website. We're launching our beard oil with 2 different options. One is a dropper and one is a pump. And then we're going to be launching a beard butter that will be much like the face and body butter that we have. And you can use it for the same thing, but it's with the Armor of God essential oil blend, which helps to boost testosterone. Then we will be launching the Armor of God essential oil blend. This is the Healing for the Soul, but it'll be an Armor of God men's testosterone support system. Now, women actually need their testosterone systems supported as well. So it's not a bad scent for women to use. Shauna had said she's been using it since I gave it to her a week and a half ago.
I love the oil. I love this.
The beard oil is great on your face for men and women.
You can pump it onto your hand
and just put it on your face.
It's so
we did a lot of testing. We did a lot of research on this.
Smells
it has
amazing.
aloe vera in it, which is the big game changer. And it does smell amazing. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I absolutely love it.
It's very earthy, woodsy, hippie. It's the best way I can describe it. So you'll have to buy it to try it. We are going to be putting our aromatherapy eye pillows on sale. In addition to the 10% discount that you're going to get, these will be buy one, get one free, plus the 10% off that you're going to get. So I'm super excited about making those available for you guys. This sale is going to go from the 3rd to the 13th. So it's going to inculcate Mother's Day. If you order within the first day or two, like the first weekend, I am going to get your orders out on Monday. Okay. Your orders are going out on Monday. So hopefully, I can't guarantee the U.S. Postal Service, but I would like to get them to you.
They're so crazy.
Before Mother's Day. So anything that goes out on Monday, hopefully it'll get to you. We do pay for they've changed it. They don't offer 2-day shipping anymore. They only offer 3-day shipping now. Shoot. Priority Mail is now listed as 3-day shipping. They don't offer us anything better. But we always do the Priority Mail for you guys, regardless of whether we take a hit on it, and we almost always do, because we have the flat rate shipping of $9.95. Unless it's going overseas, in which case you guys have a flat rate shipping of $30, because we always take a hit on that too. The overseas shipping, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. I just want to get you guys your stuff. So we will be launching the sale. We are shipping to Canada, and we do ship to the UK. If you would like us to ship to your country, please let me know ahead of the sale, so I can get that set up, ready to go. So I'm really, really excited to be launching. And then also, so the beard butter, the beard oil, the Armor of God, essential oil blend for men, and there will be a 4 or 5 pack. I haven't decided yet. I think it's going to be 5 pack of lip balm.
Oh, yeah, the lip balm.
So I am telling you, it's next level lip balm, and Michelle is a lip balm snob. Leah will tell you, I've got these things. I got 800 of these all over the house, and I can, because they're the only thing that lasts on my lips. And I would say my lip balm may rival Burt's Bees. Just saying. All right, so we're going to sign off. We love you guys. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth. And we'll see you next time right here from ResistanceChicks.com. Thank you to all the supporters. Thank you for all your prayers. They have meant so much to us. Thank you to everybody that has endured phone calls from us this week. At some point, we will do a show on it in the next couple of months. Just we're not ready to do that quite yet. But thank you guys for your listening ears and your prayers for everything that we've been going through. It means more to us than we can possibly say. So we'll see you guys. And I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed rest of your Sunday. And I don't want to call it the work week. It's the power of God. Get out there, expand the kingdom of God week. I pray that it's wonderful for each and every single one of you guys. How when I was deleting files the other day, my outro got deleted. And so this is the second time I've gone to click on the outro and it's not there. So let's see if I actually did load it. I did. Okay. No, wait, hang on. Oh, I didn't. Tell me it's here. It's not here. You know what we're going to play instead? We're going to play My Pillow Chickmunks. How about that? Let's do that instead. That'll be our outro for today because I have to re-upload it. It's gone. Okay. Bye guys. God bless.
I want to show you guys just why I love My Pillow's sheets. I just took off my winter flannel sheets off of my bed that has the My Pillow mattress topper, which I love. I think this is the 3-inch. It is so amazing. It's phenomenal. And of course, I got my pillow. But I want to show you guys why I absolutely love these cotton sheets. I bought these last year and I've been hanging on to them, but I've been using my flannel sheets all winter. And now I'm getting ready to get these out. I don't even know that they have this print anymore. And I know most of you guys are like, oh, I would wash those sheets before I put them on. I'm putting them on. Putting the daggum sheets on my bed. Can't make me wash them first. They're so crisp and it's fun.
I am so excited about this. I love these sheets. When I was growing up, all of my friends, grandparents, and my friends had like the nice, look at this, the nice kind of thick sheets that are just, they feel quality. And every single time I use a My Pillow sheet, I get that top quality feel that is just, it feels rich, it feels luxurious, it feels awesome. Look at this. It's a beautiful print. Like I said, I don't even know that they have this in stock anymore, but they have some that are like it. And of course, I'm incredibly girly. You couldn't tell with the butterflies on the stability. But I wanted to show you guys just how amazing, like the stitching on these, it is top quality. Like these are legit super uber nice. So I wanted to bring you guys along while I made up my bed to show you guys how amazing I love all the My Pillow stuff. It's not just, we're not just saying, oh, we love it because we love Mike. And yes, Mike, we love you. But we love all of the products because they're like legit. This mattress topper has transformed my life. I have a regular foam mattress underneath of here. And it's probably like 13 years old. And about 3 years ago, I started to kind of swoop like this. So I got the My Pillow mattress topper, which is like raised. It's kind of like bumpy, I don't know if you can see that. But it has like little My Pillow prints on it. It's super fun. But it is so nice. And you can take it off and wash it. So it just straps easily. Now, one thing I did want to show you when I just tore this whole thing apart is that I got the Twin XL. The Twin XL for the mattress that I have added with this mattress topper. So I want to show you guys how fun this looks. I'll probably just speed this up and you guys can see it when it's done. So let's go. Pause. Hang on. Before I go anywhere, one of the things that I love to do every time I do these films is to show you guys how to fold a fitted sheet. So you're getting a bonus on this, all right? You ready? So here's how you fold a fitted sheet, even though I'm getting ready to put it on the bed.
Put your hands in each corner, right, like that. Right, like this, okay? Spread your arms out wide, bring them together, put your hands in this corner, take this elasticy thing, kind of glue it out. Then you're going to do the same thing, you're going to inside this corner here, and you're going to put it in here. Now you've got this kind of square, you see that? Isn't that nice? Then you're going to put them together Then you're going to fold once, then you're going to fold twice, you're going to fold again, and then you're going to fold again.
Bada boom, bada bing, now you have just learned how to fold a fitted sheet. So, okay, now let's unfold it and put it back on the bed. Now you can see, get out of the way, that there is plenty of room because I got the XL. Wait, straighten up these corners a little bit. I got the XL because I wanted to make sure that it would fit with my extra mattress. And this will shrink just a tad when I wash it, just a little bit, which I'll probably washing it in the next couple of days. But I absolutely love the top quality of this sheet set. It is so nice. So now, without further ado, let's put the top one on. And I love these so much. Just even working with them, it's just, you can feel how thick they are. They're just so nice. All right, so now we've got our top sheet on and we've got our fitted sheet on, and we're going to do our pillowcase here in a second. But I just wanted to take a minute because I don't think I pointed this out. What kind did I get? So these are the Percal, right here, the Percal sheets that are 100% cotton and 270 thread count. So that's what these ones are. Leah loves the Giza Dream sheets and I love the flannel sheets, but we're going into spring and I'm super excited about that. So I'm jumping the gun on getting my super fun cotton Percal sheets out. So
last but not least, and this is the most important part, is we're going to put on the pillowcase on my pillow, and oh my gosh, it's the greatest pillow on planet Earth. Like, guys, look at this. Okay, so when you sleep, look how thick this is. Okay, I'm not trying to say that I'm a thin person, but like, I can hide behind it. Like, it's awesome. It's got this patented, I think it's got a name, fill on the inside that's like super lumpy, and when you sleep on it, it takes your whole head and it hugs your head. It's a hug for your head. That's what it is. They need to market it. Mike, you need to market it as a hug for your head. It's a hug for your head. And you can get them and you can use them so that you can have a hug. If you don't have somebody to hug, and you can use them and you can hug them. But you can wash these and you can throw them in the dryer. But instantly, so you go to sleep and you wake up and it's just a little flattened, and then you just flip it. But sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll just flip it. Like where my head is a little flattened. I just flip it and boom, I got all that fluff all over again. It's like the greatest pillow. There's a reason why he is sold. I don't even know. There's probably millions of these sold. But there's a reason for it because it's the best pillow. So now we're gonna put. I don't know how you guys do pillows, but I do it in a very unattractive manner here. I think everybody does that. How can you not? All right, so
you'll notice that this pillowcase is a really good size pillowcase. You could get a much larger pillow from my pillow, and it would still fit in the pillowcase, which I love about Mike's pillowcases. So there we are.
Bada bing, bada boom, a new sheet set from my pillow that I love. It's super top quality. I can't tell you how much I love. It's so nice, it's so soft, it's so thick. It makes me feel like when I was a kid and I didn't get the nice sheets, and now I've got them, and I'm never going back. So you need to go to mypillow.com. You can use our promo code if you'd like. RC, that stands for Resistance Chicks, or Real Cool. Stay out of public school and be real cool and use promo code RC at the checkout.